Warning, the following podcast contains spoilers. So if you don't want to know that Wolfman's got nards, stop listening now.
The International House of Horror.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the International House of Horror podcast, a low-budget podcast for low-budget horror movies. I'm your host, Rocco, aka the Mad Pancaker, and across from me is none other than my co-host, Scary Perry.
Hello there.
How you doing, Scary Perry?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Before we dive into this week's movie review, which is our awful August poll review, don't mind what month it actually is. Just pretend it's in August, or just wait until next year to watch it. Oh, wait, don't wait until next year.
Don't wait, no.
Or listen, don't wait till next year to listen to this.
You listen to this immediately.
That's right. We'll call it awful August in October when we're recording this, and then it'll come out in December. Hopefully not. I'm going to try and knock it out a little bit faster. Before we dive into this week's movie, let's dive into some hotcakes. You ready to dive into some hotcakes, Perry?
Yeah.
Alrighty. We'll get the obits out of the way, because that seems to be a lot of famous people passing away lately, so that's kind of unfortunate. We got a big one in William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist. He passed away since our last recording. It's actually been quite some time since he passed in the time we're recording this, but it happened between our recordings, so yeah, that's kind of a big one, so sorry to hear him go. He was a pretty good director. I have some hot takes on The Exorcist, but I can't argue with his directorial skills and his vision. May he rest in peace. And then we got one more. This one actually just happened on the 10th of October, actually. I was checking because I saw it was trending. Jeff Burr, so he's not quite as well-known a director as William Friedkin, but he directed, I think he directed both Puppet Master 4 and 5. I know he directed a couple of those. From A Whisper to a Scream, an 80s anthology that's got Vincent Price in it. Clu Gulager's in it, too. Has a couple other names. He's directed a lot of stuff. He directed Pumpkinhead 2. Done a little bit of work in the horror community. So sad to see him go, Might not be the greatest sequels, but there's always probably something fun in those. And From A Whisper to a Scream is definitely a fun horror anthology. I recommend checking out if you've never seen it. Plus one of the later Vincent Price films, too, so.
Rest in peace.
Yep, rest in peace. So that's it for the obits. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. That's the one thing with some of these horror people and actors, like especially lesser known people, they kind of go under the radar. Like the big ones get talked about. Like William Friedkin was pretty big, but like that guy who played the creature from the Black Lagoon that I talked about before in the underwater scenes, like that's kind of like low key under the radar. And there's a lot of ones that I care about getting up there in age that I'm worried about they're going to just gloss by me and I'm going to find out 3 months later that person died. I'm like, when did they die? So that's all the negatives. I don't think we talked about... Did we talk about this last time?
No.
No? Okay. Real quick, little kind of a pickup hotcake. I was playing some horror trivia over on a YouTube channel called Movie Timelines, hosted by Josh Spiegel. He has a really good channel, dives deep into the timelines of mostly horror movies, but he does some other stuff too. He hosts horror trivia every once in a while. I've been competing in them for a while, but with the help of my co-host Scary Perry and a few of our other friends, I forget who all was in attendance. Was Murky Mullador there?
Yeah.
I think Murky Mullador was there with us, so helped me win this t-shirt. It's got his Horror Timelines logo on it. It's a pretty cool t-shirt. Shout out to Josh Spiegel and his YouTube channel, Movie Timelines. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a fun channel. And thank you, Scary Perry, for all the help.
You're welcome.
I'd probably say the questions seemed a little bit easier during that round. I would say probably I knew 80% of it, and the other help came from these guys, either knowing the answers off the top of their head on some things that I wasn't quite as familiar with, or just being able to be faster on the Google than the other contestants in the chat. I feel like that's how some of those harder questions go, is how quick can you Google it? Especially the images, like how quick can you Google image search something up?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier when you have somebody else doing it for you. But thanks again, guys. And thanks to you, Josh. Keep up the great work, and I love the shirt. With that, we'll dive into some movies watched that we've been watching between recordings. So since I let it off with that, Perry, I'll flip it over to you. Do you have anything that you watched recently
I don't have any hotcakes.
What? You're just like Dolores. You don't have any hotcakes. Oh, poor Scary Perry.
I watched half of a movie, but I don't want to even talk about it.
Oh, that bad? You don't even want to mention it by name so people can
it
avoid
wasn't
it?
that bad. I just got it. I don't know. I couldn't get into it.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot there.
No. It was the voyage of the Demeter.
Oh, yes. The last voyage of the Demeter?
The last voyage
yes,
of the Demeter.
I've heard people talk about that. Yeah, I heard it's just kind of
Based on Bram Stoker's.
Yeah. I find that a weird story to make a movie out of because it's one brief part in the book and you kind of already know what's going to happen based on if you know anything that happens in that book. That's how Dracula gets from Transylvania to London. Everybody on that boat dies. It's like
way to spoil it for
well, but that's what I'm saying. It's so like maybe there's one survivor in this movie. I have no idea. I've watched some people talk about it in reviews, but I don't know the entire plot of the movie other than it's his voyage on the ship the Demeter, which is the name of the boat in the book. Yeah. I've read the book. Yeah, it just seems like a weird we want to tell a little portion of the Dracula story and go into more detail on it. That seems like a bit of an odd part to do just because, like I said, you know that nobody on that boat survives. I mean, sure, you could change it up and have somebody survive, but...
It seemed like they had good actors in it. It's just... I don't know. It's
not the best idea.
I kind of just lost interest and then went
and
and did something else.
Yeah, it could have been well, and it might not have been well... what's the word I'm looking for? Well executed. There we go. Yeah, probably it might not have been well executed. I can't say I haven't seen it. You've seen it, so it sounds like it wasn't well executed to keep your attention. Yeah, it just seems like a strange subject to make a movie out of. Sorry to put you on the spot there, Scary Perry. Do you have any pickups for us when we get to the pickup section, or?
I have one recent pickup.
Okay.
But that's going to be... We're going to review that movie later on, so I can't...
Okay. Oh, did you pick that up?
Yeah, I picked that up.
Okay. When did you pick that up yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know. Did you pick up anything else yesterday? Or was that it?
No, that's it.
Okay. So I'll dive into it. I'll run through a couple of the movies I've been watching real quick, some of the more interesting ones. So first off, we have 1989 film called Blades. I watched this over on Tubi, good old Tubi, where you can go to find all sorts of odd movies. This is almost a beat-for-beat Jaws parody, where a killer lawnmower kills unsuspecting golfers. It's kind of played a bit too straight and lacks gore early on, but it kind of picks up in the last 30 minutes to slightly redeem itself. Overall, I gave it 2.5 pancakes. Like I said, the humor's just a little too dry at times. I like dry humor, but some of it hits and some of it doesn't. It's kind of a fun film. You may want to check it out for morbid curiosity's sake. So like I said, I gave it 2.5 pancakes. Put a little special note here because, of course, right at the start, you can't miss that little music that plays and then the little city skyline with the spotlights going on. And I'm like, oh, it's got that Troma seal of quality. You know the music, that little jingle. If I had it here, that'd be a good little play. And up next, so I talked about this in a pickup, but I finally got around to rewatching it. So about Nightwish. This is a bit of a spoiler, but this movie is kind of known as the Inception of horror movies. Although technically it came out before Inception because it was from 1989, so which movie's ripping off which, but I digress. It's a very entertaining mashup of many tropes. You got this research science team that goes to this little haunted house and is doing these experiments with ghosts. But it's got demons and aliens and zombies mixed in throughout. I don't know if it has demons, but it's got zombies, aliens. It's very, very weird, but it's very fun. It's bizarre and fascinating with great effects by K&B. Good old K&B.
KB Toys?
No, Kurtzman, Nicotero, and Berger.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I really like this one. I gave it 4.5 pancakes. It's another one of those, like I said, it's a better than it has any right to be movies. And it stars a guy that I talk about all the time, one of those little actors that I keep finding in movies. I recently discovered him in some sort of 80s rom-com. I'm like, oh, he did something outside of horror? Guy I talk about all the time, Clayton Ronner. So he's in it. So up next, this is an old one from 1976, H.G. Wells' The Food of the Gods. These animals eat liquid that seeps up out of the ground and grow to monstrous proportions and attack local/vacationers on an island. It's got some clever use of real animals and suits/puppets with composite shots of giant animals next to miniatures and stuff like that. But other effects are terrible or dated with hokey acting. Especially these wasp interposit scenes. They're just it's really hokey. Yeah. Overall mediocre, but still enjoyable. I gave it 2.5. It's kind of fun. Maybe you should check it out. But some of the model miniature work is hit or miss. It's really funny though, because during the climax, they got these giant rats and they're just hurling them at this model. It's just, oh, it's so funny.
Green screen galore.
Then let's continue on. So, I don't know if I've ever talked about this one before, but it's a giallo I recently rewatched. And I realized it's the thing with some of these giallos. I've said, like, their titles are so all over the place and bizarre that I wonder, I'm like, have I watched this one before? And I did, but I rewatched it, and it was worth a rewatch. Called The Bloodstained Shadow from 1978. I didn't write down who directed it, but if I remember correctly, it's directed by Aldo Lido or Lebo. I think it's Lido. Maybe it's Albo Lido. Something like that. Anyways, the plot of it is after returning home, a professor's repressed memory of a murder resurfaces just as his priest brother witnesses a new one. Are they connected? It's a bit too slow to start, but picks up in the second half and has a good twist. Plus, it has some uncredited score done by Goblin. And, you know, I always love a score from Goblin.
Yeah.
So, overall, I gave it 3 pancakes. It's kind of a fun one, worth checking out if you like giallos and Italian films and murder mysteries. Then, so one more watched hotcake. So I got Midnight from 1989. So this is a bit of another parody / comedy with a knockoff Elvira hostess tries to keep the rights to her show from a sleazy producer while dating a young actor. It's a quirky comedy that suffers from pacing issues and editing. It turns really dark in the last 20 minutes, but with an upbeat ending. So it's like it twists on you and like goes really dark, but then it twists again and it's like, oh, it's actually a happy ending. Notably, it stars Tony Curtis, famously married to Janet Leigh at one point, and, you know, father of Jamie Lee Curtis, and Frank Gorshin, the Riddler. Plus, it has a brief cameo by famous disc jockey Wolfman Jack.
Cool.
Overall, though, like I said, it's just a bit too slow. There's some fine parts in it that are kind of funny. It's an interesting look at the Elvira phenomenon and everything. But overall, I just gave it 2.5 pancakes. So maybe we're checking out. It's definitely an oddity. I also put down, though, that there's this car explosion in it. And I'm like, is that the same car explosion from Hobgoblins? I really want to compare these scenes side by side because I think it's the same footage. And I wouldn't be surprised if Hobgoblins use stock footage to, you know, or which one used the footage first. That's all that.
I have a question, though,
all right,
on that movie.
Yes.
Did you watch it at midnight?
I might have, because I tend to watch movies late at night. That might have been a Saturday midnight movie watch.
Mad Pancaker, the Night Owl.
That's right. So I think that's it for watched hotcakes, other than some of the pickups we'll be talking about. You got nothing for me, huh, Scary Perry?
I can't say what it is. I told you I got it yesterday.
Right.
It's coming late.
Well, you had the last voyage of the meter. That's for something. All right, so let's first
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It happens, man.
I saw a non-horror movie, but I don't think you want to talk about that.
Was it semi-horror related?
No.
Okay. Anyways, moving on. So we'll go into pickups. So we'll start with the movie pickups, of course. So Arrow Video had their Camp Arrow sale during the summer.
Ooh.
So took that opportunity to pick up some more outstanding content from Arrow Video. So
you can't
first
go wrong with Arrow.
Oh, yeah, they do some good stuff. Not all the movies on there are hit or miss, but they put out some good products. You know, even if the movie isn't good, at least it's got plenty of features and everything. So first off,
for sure, dude.
We have this, I'm not sure what year this is. Maybe it says on the back here. Copyright says 1987. So 1987 slasher film, Edge of the Axe, from Spanish filmmaker Jose Ramon Larraz. Apologies if I butcher that name, but this is one I've watched before. I think I watched it back on Tubi. I actually watched it with, I believe I watched it with Murky Mullador and maybe...
Yeah. Me?
And you? Yep, you watched it with us before. So.
I might have felt...
Yeah, you probably tilted, but that's okay. Yeah. It's okay. It happens. Definitely a fun little slasher. I recommend it. I haven't rewatched it in a while to give it a pancake rating, but maybe that'll be coming up.
I love the cover.
Oh, it's got this awesome cover. Speaking of the name Edge of the Axe, he's busting through the door with an axe, and you got this person with their fingers slightly severed and blood's everywhere, and he's got this cool blank white mask on. So definitely a fun slasher. I'd probably say it's at least a 4, but I haven't watched it in a while, so I remember it having a good twist. So up next, so now I did watch this one because this was a new one for me that I'd never seen before, and this is Deadly Games, a 1982 slasher. I'll pass it over to Scary Perry so you can check it out. So it's got a cool slipcover, which describes the opening scene on the back of the slipcover, which is a little different because a lot of times the slipcover just has beat for beat the back of the box on it. Perry can see it's different. It's got like this little poem describing the opening of the film. A mass killer stalks women in a Midwest town, alluded to by a monster-themed board game he plays. An interesting, if not always well-executed premise that is too slow at times, but has its moments. Dick Butkus makes an appearance in it, too. And he just passed away, too, right?
Yes.
Because he played for the Bears, and the Bears honored him recently in the game.
Yes. Dick Butkus did.
Yep, he did. So, rest in peace, Dick Butkus. Who knew that he was going to be a horror obit this week? But he's an obscure horror movie.
Yeah.
Overall, it's decent, but not great. It's kind of confusing because there's a couple ladies that they change hair throughout the movie, so it's tough to keep them straight because they have similar hairstyles or hair color. So overall, I gave it 2.5 pancakes. It's got this 80s freeze frame ending. It does have a decent score at times, but the main girl, oh my goodness, she's just really annoying in it. She never shuts up, but it's an okay slasher. For a blind pickup, and I heard a lot of hype from it, the board game aspect of it's really cool. That board game that they made the board game for the film, it's pretty cool. So
it's not like
Dungeons and
Dragons
Bay. It's like this this monster themed board game with like, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy. You control them, and like the rules to the game aren't very well explained because but you see like it's kind of Giallo-esque with like the black hand, and you see him pick up the dice and then move the pawns, and then he'll even cheat it because they roll a 20-sided die. I'll change it to a different number so it can move to different spaces for who it's going to kill next. It's kind of interesting, but like I said, I just wish the movie was better with that concept. One last Arrow video pickup. So this is one I had seen before, and I definitely knew I wanted to get this at some point. So this is Madhouse. I've mentioned Madhouse many times before because there's at least 4 different movies with this name. So this is the 1981, might have been 1980, but copyright says 81, so we'll go with that. From director of video Asanidis, as the box puts it, the man behind such cult favorites as The Visitor and Piranha 2: The Spawning. So Madhouse is a neat little slasher. The basic plot is a woman's twin sister escapes from an institute days before their birthday and stalks her and kills those around her. It's a slow but tense-paced Italian slasher that is well executed with a very creepy vibe. Now, if that plot description sounds very familiar to you, it's because it's very similar to the plot of Happy Birthday to Me. And I would recommend, I know I kind of spoiled everything there, I recommend watching Happy Birthday to Me first, because if you know that the plots are similar, this one would kind of give away the ending to that movie. This one's kind of has a bit of surreal element to it, especially with the opening, but I really like this one. I gave it 4.5 pancakes. Very fun. The acting's pretty solid in it. Yeah, I definitely recommend that one, checking that out. So then up next, I have a few recent Shout Factory pickups. We'll lead with a biggie here.
Shout, let it on.
That's right.
Sorry.
Finally, on 4K from Scream Factory, we have the collector's edition of Creepshow. Don't need to tell you that Creepshow is a classic horror anthology.
Never seen it.
You liar. One of the best horror anthologies, if not the best horror anthology ever made, and I'm not sure if it came with stickers, but it did come with like the poster of the... I think it came with 2 posters, both the regular cover, and it came with this alternate slip cover with some custom artwork. I forget who did the custom artwork, but cool little slip cover. I'll pass that over for Scary Perry to check out.
Did it come with cake?
No, it did not.
Aww.
I don't think it came with any cockroaches either, thankfully.
Cake. Do we have cake here? Dolores.
Come on, man. You know they can't afford cake here. They might have like sponge cake. And by sponge cake, I mean literally it's a sponge chopped up to look like pieces of cake.
Is a pancake a cake? Are we going deep?
Are we going? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This isn't the podcast for philosophical questions here. Maybe with movies like Christmas Evil.
This is neat, dude.
Yeah. I just watched it the other day. I don't need to tell you that Creepshow is a 5 pancake cover of syrup movie. We'll get around to talking about it sometime, I'm sure. And then, so this was another one of their limited releases where they're only doing 1,500 copies. And we watched this movie on one of the streaming services back in the day. And
looks a little sus.
So this is definitely more of a 80s college sex comedy. It has a horror theme to it. They even put the Scream Factory logo on it, so, it's still in the horror genre, according to them. So it's not a horror movie, but it has elements associated with that. So it's called School Spirit. And I did watch this one recently because I really like this movie.
Oh, I remember watching this.
Yeah, so once I tell you the premise of it, I just gotta find it here in my notes. School Spirit is a 1985 zany 80s college comedy where a student dies, becomes a ghost, and hilarity ensues. And you can imagine, just based on the cover, so on the cover, you see this spectral, faded out spirit of a college guy, and he's in a locker room with a robust lady, and he's taking the towel off of her. You don't see anything, but it's, risque, and, you can imagine the type of shenanigans he gets into. Again, I put it's another better than it has any right to be movie with a wacky Hog Day party with a rockin' band. You remember Hog Day? That's like their big prank day and celebration where they all act goofy and weird. And
his name is Billy Batson. He's Shazam.
Is that really the name? Is Shazam?
I think so, yeah.
Billy Batson. That's funny. I love the ending. There is some horror people in there, though. It does star an actress from Friday the 13th. Not the first one, the second one, which unfortunately we didn't get around to talk about this Friday the 13th, but next year, hopefully. I think it's Marta Kober or Cobber. which I'm surprised I didn't pick up on the first time. Maybe I did and I just forgot since it's been so long since I watched it, but I definitely picked up on the second time that it was her, because I'm like, wait a minute, that's that kid, which is very weird because she's supposed to be, she's not a college student, she's like the daughter of the dean or whatever, one of those situations. So I think she's playing like a teenager, but she played camp counselor that's older in Friday the 13th Part 2, and you definitely see her topless in that movie. And I think that movie, this movie comes out 1985, and I'm pretty sure Friday the 13th Part 2, the first was 19, I think that one was either 81 or 82. So, yeah. So, there's that. So that's it for the Scream pickups. Then I got a couple more pickups. So I picked up this at good old Walmart from the Vestron video collection. So this is another more comedy, but definitely in the horror tropes. I had never seen this one before. It looked like a lot of fun. So My Best Friend is a Vampire. David Warner's in it. And that's the big name I recognize out of it. Oh, Kathy Bates makes an appearance in it.
Oh, that's a big name too.
Yeah, well, she's like in one scene, though.
I get you.
Yeah, it's one of those, but comedy from 1988. A teenager has to deal with his newfound vampirism while wooing the hot nerd chick and being hunted by a crazy vampire hunter played by David Warner. I've used this term several times today because it's my go-to term for a lot of these 4.5 pancake movies that are just some sort of cheesy 80s movie, but somehow it's better than it has any right to be, which oozes 80s nostalgia and is a very fun premise. So I really like this one. First time ever watching it. Really liked it. It was a lot of fun. Gave it 4.5 pancakes. There's a lot of fun 80s music in it, too. Well-known songs, including an Oingo Boingo song, so.
I feel like I might have seen this before.
Maybe. It's kind of well-known. I've never heard of it, but I saw somebody post about the Vestron release of it being out.
It's only rated PG?
Yes. But very fun movie. And when I saw somebody post about it, I'm like, what the heck? I'll go to Walmart and see if they have it, and they did. So, and then another movie I picked up from Walmart because I knew this was coming out. So we have Resident Evil Death Island.
And how many Resident Evil movies?
So this is part of the CGI line. This is not part of the main. Who directed Resident Evil?
Here, look this up.
W.B. Anderson?
That might be it.
Yes. His name's not Wes.
No, Wes Anderson does good movies. They're different, like Grand.
I'm thinking of somebody. Yeah, but why can't I think of his name?
I think you might be right. Hold on, I'm getting there. I am the Google machine. Paul W.S.
That's why I'm getting confused with the W. W.S. Anderson sounds like. Yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson. Not any of his continuity. This is
William Scott Anderson.
Oh, okay. He's fancy. Not part of the Anderson Resident Evil films.
They just go to this guy from like him. A lot of video game movies. Hey, do this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, do this. Hey, do Event Horizon.
He did do Event Horizon. And then he did those Resident Evil movies.
He did a couple.
Yeah, he pulled a Lucio Crowley and just put his wife in every movie.
He did an Alien versus Predator and Death Race. Death Race was popular.
The less we talk about that movie, the better.
Also,
so anyways.
Monster Hunter.
So this is a CGI Resident Evil movie where legacy characters are lured to a trap on Alcatraz by an evil mastermind. It's a fun, over-the-top zombie movie, faithful to the games. Faithful in that, it has the characters, it's got their correct likenesses. I don't know who they did for the voice actors, but some of them are the same because they've been changing up the voice actors.
Jovovich, one of the voices?
No. Can't say that she is. But it's fun. You know exactly what you're getting from it. It's definitely campy and over the top. But I gave it 3.5 pancakes, and of course, my comment on it is, why can't the live-action movies get it right? It's not a hard formula to figure out, people. This shouldn't be that hard to make a fun live-action Resident Evil movie that's faithful to the games. And now this is a bit more action-oriented, kind of like how the later Resident Evil sequels are, but it makes sense in the context of a movie, You can't just have people walking around, getting lost and trying to solve traps. So that's all of my movie pickups.
T-Virus.
So real quick, we'll dive into a few other pickups I recently got. I got one last movie pickup, but we're not going to talk about this here because I referenced last time that I did pick up and watch Evil Dead Rise, but finally recorded, but still needs edited. The quick cake for Evil Dead Rise should be out on the horizon, so keep an eye out for that. And on the subject of other reviews, there should be on the website. It was actually posted during Awful August, a short stack blog post review of Mountaintop Motel Massacre. So for Awful August, I picked a movie that was in the first ever Awful August poll. I'm like, well, let me revisit this one and see if I can actually get through it. And, well, you'll have to read the blog post to find out if it's so bad it's good or if it was really a movie that I definitely should have bailed out of at the first 30 minutes like I did the first time. You'll just have to read to find out. A couple more pickups. So I don't have it over here because there's a ton of stuff involved. I did take a picture and I think I put it on Patreon, but the Kickstarter just arrived for the Resident Evil board game from Steamforged Games. So looking forward to that. I haven't played it yet, but it seems like it expands upon some of the things they did in Resident Evil 3, the board game, with some more exploration. And it's got all sorts of different cards for the different sections of the house that looks like you're going to explore and open up as you explore and find different keys. So that looks kind of neat. Like I said, using the system from that game, but expanding upon it. Bunch of cool mantras, of course. Definitely recommend checking it out if you're a Resident Evil fan and a fan of board games. And then quick video game review. We got picked up because it was like on super discount, and this one's been out for a long time, but I picked up The Sinking City because it was on sale. So this is an H.P. Lovecraft inspired game that's kind of like L.A. Noire.
Oh.
You're a private eye going around solving cases. It's not quite as deep as L.A. Noire with its interrogation system, and after a while the quests kind of do get repetitive. There's only so much exploration you can do, and there's not much to do other than side quests. But it's fun, it's entertaining. I'd probably give it like 3 pancakes. It's a fun little story too. The only thing is all the endings are downers. There's like no positive ending, which kind of fits in with the existential dread of H.P. Lovecraft, and that we're all insignificant, and much larger forces at play that we can't beyond our control with, cosmic horror and everything. But I still would have liked at least one happy ending where, you successfully defeat the forces of Cthulhu and all that stuff, but neither here nor there. So that's it for all the pickups. So let's wrap up a few things real quick on hotcakes. First off, we would like to shout out to our new Patreon. We have a new patron on Patreon. So our new patron is Michael Perry. So I wonder who that guy's related to.
Who's that guy?
He came in at the $10 tier, or I forget what I called that tier. I think I might have called it the Grand Slam. I forget, like ripping off Denny's there or something. Or a tall stack of pancakes. I forget. I had clever names for him. I have to go back and reread what the names are I gave him. But he came in at the $10 tier, so he's got a movie review coming to us. He already gave us the movie he wants us to review, so don't worry, Michael. It's in the pipeline. We have a few holiday-themed ones that we want to knock out of the way first, but it is in the pipeline, I promise you. Just like J-Bone's movie pick, we will get to it. So, and I'm looking forward to it because that's a movie that's been on my radar. He knows what it is. We know it is. We'll keep you guys in the dark for a little bit. The one that's been on my radar for a little bit, it was mentioned, I think James Rolfe mentioned it, as Monster Madness Around the World. I think me and you watched a little bit of that. We watched that one, so it was mentioned in that, so I'm aware of it, and it seems like it has an interesting premise, and I'm looking forward to actually watching that one.
Yeah, I am too.
And then finally, to wrap up hotcakes, so we have a voicemail, so I know it's kind of a quick turnaround for an episode, so I might not have given you guys enough time to, turn around from finishing the one episode to recording this episode was kind of quick. From when this episode actually comes out, neither here nor there. But we still do have that contest going on. I'm going to keep it open because as long as these codes don't expire. Plus, I got a new one to add to the list in The Exorcist. And I did put a disclaimer at the end of the last episode. Probably legal U.S. residents only. I mean, if you're one of our foreign audience members, feel free to still leave us a voicemail anyways. We want to hear from you, but the codes are only legal in the U.S. I even read them, so... But we have a voicemail from somebody that calls themselves The Insane Waffler, and he titled it The Insane Waffler Review. So let's listen to it.
Hey guys, this is AJ, aka The Insane Waffler. No relation. I've got a hotcakes of my own this week. We recently watched Totally Killer on Amazon Prime, and it was described to me as Back to the Future meets Mean Girls meets Halloween. I was intrigued, and it did not disappoint. It might be too modern for the Mad Pancaker, but I'd recommend it. It stars Kiernan Shipka from Netflix's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And yeah, it's worth a watch. Check it out. Thanks. Love the show. First time caller. Last time listener? Nope, just kidding. I'll listen again. Bye.
What a jokester.
That guy sounds like a cool guy.
He does sound like a cool guy. So that was from AJ, the Insane Waffler, who might also be a patron member. a member of our Patreon, a patron.
Our growing army.
Our growing army, yeah. We're up to 3. So, and shout out, I mentioned J-Bones as a patron, of course. So shout out to all 3 of our patrons, AJ, Michael Perry, and J-Bones for supporting the podcast. We appreciate it. Your support helps. And remember, if you're in position to help the podcast grow and be less low budget, we'd appreciate it. You can go to patreon.com/Pancaker and check that out. And with all the hotcakes and plugs out of the way for the beginning of the episode, time to dive in to this week's review. Like I said, it was our Awful August poll review. So the winner that turned out, as we hinted last week, was Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf from 1985.
How?
That's right. Oh, before I move on to our movie, I did want to talk about their voicemail there. I did hear about that movie. I think I saw, it was maybe a YouTube ad or either a Tubi ad for that movie, so I am aware of it, and the premise did interest me. Back to the Future meets a slasher. It did intrigue me for being a newer movie, so I am aware of it. I did see an ad for it, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But you never know, when you say, it's like this movie meets this movie, you never quite know what you're going to get. Is it going to be a cluster of a movie, or is it going to be actually good? But he liked it, so it might be worth checking out.
Don't worry, folks. He'll watch 5 years on the road.
Yeah, probably. It takes me a while to get to movies, so.
I know.
Anyways, back to Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf. So
what? I don't have a sister.
Isn't your? What about Katy Perry?
Oh, well, that's my cousin.
Oh, that's your cousin. Darn it.
Scary Pod might have a sister, though.
Who's Scary Pod's sister?
A werewolf.
Okay. Anyways, so this movie stars Christopher Lee. Hey, so this is our first Christopher Lee movie.
Count Dooku.
I'm sure he would have preferred us to pick another movie. It's got Annie McEnroe, Reb Brown. So, hey, our first Reb Brown movie.
Captain America.
That's right. He was in the Roger Corman Captain America. I believe Corman did that. Marcia A. Hunt, and, of course, none other than Sybil Danning. Music composed by Steve Parsons and directed by Philippe Mora. So is this movie going to be so bad it's good, or is it just going to be so bad like The Power Glove?
Well, let's get into it.
So let's dive in. So we open with a crossfade of Christopher Lee over space, giving us some opening narration. Now, the last film I watched with opening narration from Christopher Lee was Meat Hook Massacre. I've got a bad feeling about this one, Perry. That movie was not very good.
Oh, boy.
So he states, "For it is written, the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with her blood, and I saw her sit upon the hairy beast." Is that some sexual innuendo there? Continuing on, "And she held forth a golden chalice full of the filthiness of her fornications." Jesus, yep, it sure was a sexual innuendo. "And upon her forehead was written, Behold, I am the great mother of harlots and all abominations of the earth." Oh, so that's who Dolores' mother is. We then cut to a statue with our title card, and the awesome Howling theme song plays. I think they played this theme song almost as many times as we see Sybil Danning's breast. So, spoiler alert coming up.
You may be right.
So which will we have more of? That's a little game we'll play around. We're going to be keeping count of a few different things in this episode, in addition to kills. We have some establishing shots of a church while the credits play, and it says it is based on the novel Howling II. Right, as in it has the same name, Howling II, because that's about all the similarities this movie has with that, from what I've gathered. And then in our credits here, we get it's produced by Stephen Lane. Steve's been holding out on us, Scary Perry.
What?
He's been a producer this whole time.
What?
Now, how did he go back in time? Because I forget when Steve was born, but he's younger than us, and I was born in 86, so...
I don't think he was...
Maybe
he wasn't alive then.
Yeah, maybe he must have time-traveled in Arch's DeLorean, He went up and hit up Mo Rutherford and Hal, and his son Hal, and his buddy Arch.
I think he's a transfer.
Maybe. He went down the line. Next up is a vertical line wipe cut. Whoosh. Whoa, looks like somebody just learned how to use cuts in Adobe After Effects. They're showing off their skills there.
Hey, now.
Oh, great. So now I have to add cheesy cuts / wipes to the count. So we're up to one cheesy cut, After Effect cut. After this beginner's transition effect, another title card lets us know we're in Los Angeles, California, USA. Thanks, I couldn't figure out where LA was. I had no idea where it was.
Doesn't it just say City of Angels?
No, it does say that afterwards.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, so it's the City of Angels that lets us know. Are we sure it's not?
I swear to God, I missed the first part. It just says City of Angels.
It did say Los Angeles because I pointed out that it said California, USA.
Okay.
But are we sure that this isn't going to turn out to be the City of Werewolves? Nope, no rim shot for that one. That was kind of lame. Anyways, we're at a church where they are conducting a funeral for Karen White. Not to be confused with Karen Black. which is surprising considering some of the other questionable films on her filmography. Who's Karen White, you say? What, you haven't seen The Howling? Yeah, this is one of the odd ones we're reviewing them out of order just because it's
You
awful
mean Joe Dante's The Howling?
Yes, a classic that we'll have to get around to sometime, but we made an exception for Awful August to not review a film in order, even though it does have some continuity involved. Long story short, she's the sister that is the werewolf, or more appropriately, was the werewolf. Wait a minute, you mean the movie lied? There's going to be a lot of reference to that movie coming up here, because technically she's dead, so she is no longer a werewolf, she was a werewolf. Specifically, she is Reb Brown's brother, Ben White, who is in attendance along with Christopher Lee. Man, how important do you have to feel that Christopher Lee showed up to your funeral? Although maybe he just wants to turn you into a vampire. Still a win-win if you ask me. Christopher Lee, of course, being famous for playing Dracula in Hammer's line of horror movies. So they inter her in a mausoleum, but as they do, Karen opens her eyes. Holy shit, maybe she is a vampire. A werewolf. Outside, a TV business guy dumps some exposition on reporter Jenny Templeton about 6 bodies found with canine bites on them and that she should investigate it. Wait, canines? How close were they to the Arklay Mountains? Heard of reports of canine bites and attacks there too. After that, she eavesdrops on Ben and Christopher Lee's conversation, where he tries to tell him his sister's soul is in danger and gives him his card. But Ben isn't having any of it and tells him to take a hike. Jenny runs over and asks who was that guy, but Ben doesn't know. So, that's kind of strange. Do you think Christopher Lee just shows up at random funerals to hand out his business card? Like he's just trying to drum up servants for his, paranormal business?
Rest in peace.
No, okay.
I mean, he's
out there. Okay.
Or did he? Yes.
Yeah, he's just cold calling random funerals like, your sister's soul is in danger. Here, take my card. I will charge you $150 an hour to investigate.
Yeah, he probably just ran around just different funerals and did that.
While leaving with the rest of the funeral attendees, Lee passes a black woman and older bearded man, and the eerie music tells us these two are suspicious. Well, that and the fact she growls at Lee as he passes by, and the old guy recognizes him. Before he can leave, Jenny meets Lee at the gate, and she is surprised that he knows her name. He's Christopher Lee, of course he knows your name. He knows everything! Or he saw her on TV, one of the two. She asks what she knows about Karen's death, and he tells her that she was shot by a silver bullet at the TV station. But apparently that only caused her to transform from Dee Wallace into a different actress. What, did you expect that the film that ignores the book wasn't going to retcon the events of the first film? They couldn't afford to get Dee Wallace again. Not after she got that E.T. money. I don't know when E.T. actually came out compared to this, so maybe that was after, I'm not sure. Actually, he tells her that she is a werewolf. Pretty blunt and straightforward. How does he know this? Just rewind the podcast 20 seconds or so. Lee doesn't stick around any longer because he has more funerals to crash and promote his business. Ben walks up and asks what he said, and she tells him that his sister is a werewolf. Man, we just keep dropping this title within the first 10 minutes of this film. Mentioning the name of your movie in the movie instantly makes it better, too. Look at Back to the Future, for example, right? When Doc says, take you back to the future. And that's a classic. So this movie has to be great, right?
Yes. Right? Yeah, it has to be.
All right. Ben thinks that's a bunch of BS, but cut to his sister screaming in her coffin, and she doesn't think so. On a side note, and maybe this has just been coming up recently in things I've been watching, what's with horror movies and glass windows on coffins, or just glass coffins? I haven't noticed it enough to be a trend, but I've seen it here and there a few times that I'm starting to take notice. Cemetery Man, for example, is another film with a glass coffin. I wonder if there's a horror movie about Lenin in his glass coffin, because I don't know if you know Vladimir Lenin. He's famously buried in a glass coffin, and you can actually go view it, I think. I don't know if maybe it's open to the people anymore. I know Simpsons did a joke about it, and he came back to life and busted out of his glass coffin. That's the only reason I know that he's in a glass coffin is from The Simpsons.
It could be like
Then again, maybe that was just a joke for The Simpsons. I don't know. Neither here nor there.
Like a ritualistic thing or something.
Maybe.
I don't know. I never heard
Who knows?
of it, but yeah.
We immediately cut to a club with a band playing some rockin' 80s music. This music's pretty sweet. I love some of this 80s stuff. It looks like a punk show by those in attendance, and for some reason Lee is there, and they make him put on these glasses to blend in, I guess. Like he's not cool enough, he has to have the glasses to get in. Yeah, no one is going to notice the conspicuous older guy dressed normally walking around because he's wearing those cheesy shades. That's some great cover there. But that black lady from earlier is at the club, and some ruffians offer to buy her a drink. But when she refuses, they ask if she'll fuck them. Whoa, are you telling me she fucks on the first date? I guess we got another graduate of Nikki's School of Dating.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I just made that up. That's a thing now. Now that's going to be another running gag in the podcast. Nikki's School of Dating. Listen to our April Fool's Day episode to learn more about Nikki and fucking on the first date. The band changes tunes to the theme song, up to 2 on the theme count now, and the punks declare it's party time. Wait, punks? Party time? Now that you mention it, there was a cemetery with graffiti everywhere earlier. Is this some sort of weird Return of the Living Dead sequel? A lot of strange similarities between that and this movie, as we'll get into. They head outside, and 3 boys in their floozy hop on their motorcycles to follow the lady to somewhere more private. You know, where they can all be alone and killed off without anyone knowing. I can't help but notice when Lee comes out to look that they have a painting of Mickey Mouse as the devil on the door. Nowadays, that's public domain, finally. But back then, the House of Mouse would be coming down with the lawsuit hammer on that.
Yeah.
They come down with the lawsuit hammer on everything. But not Mickey Mouse anymore. He's in the public domain officially. Him and
Is
Minnie.
he?
Yeah.
Really?
Finally, yeah. After so many extensions, he's finally in the public domain. That and Winnie the Pooh, which we know because of, oh man, will we have to review that horror movie sometime?
Maybe.
There's a sequel coming out, too.
Oh, wait, what? Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So they go to this abandoned warehouse, and the lady lets out a loud howl. Get it? Like she's a werewolf or something.
No, she's a squatter.
This alerts someone with some really hairy ears that's hiding in the warehouse, which is kind of a cool little makeup effect.
Yeah.
But also, I have to notice, like, it's daylight out now. It's already morning. How long were they driving, and how late was it when they left the club? Like, was it at, immediately like 4 a.m.? It's still daylight, but crack of dawn at like 5 or 6 o'clock that now it's morning?
They're partying early.
Yeah, I guess. So the floozy and one of the punks wander off on their own for some hunka chunka, leaving the other 2 for the now topless woman. And we got our first titties, so titty counts at 1.
Hey, now.
But a bottle is thrown at one of the punks and shatters against his head. This low hum starts playing that sounds oddly familiar. And they're also in a warehouse? Wait, is Tarman about to show up? Sounds awful lot like the hum that's going on when she goes to the basement and runs into Tarman. This might actually be a Return of the Living Dead sequel.
God, I hope not.
The punk who was hit in the head who stole Chuck's sport jacket says, "What the fuck's going on?" There's another Living Dead reference. It looks like Chuck, he's the guy wearing the sport jacket from Return of the Living Dead.
I think you're going in too deep.
Dude, got a reference here. This is kind of like when Suicide says what the fuck in the basement right before he runs into Tarman. The similarities between these two keep piling up. The punks get out their weapons for party time. There it is again. They said the line.
Do you want to party? Bum, bum.
It's party time.
Bum, bum. Okay.
So as they search for the lady, the one taunts her by zipping and unzipping his pants.
What?
Yeah, he's unzipping his pants zipper repeatedly.
Oh, man.
I know you're there, my little beauty. I've got something for you. But when he runs into her, he gets more than he bargained for as he runs into the lady who is a werewolf and gets his knife-wielding hand ripped off, leading to kill number 1, Werehickey. Werewolf lady sinks her teeth into the flesh of his neck. The others run away, but before one can, he becomes kill number 2, Crated. Another werewolf drops a crate on his head from a landing above, and he is dragged off to his fate. One of them makes a classic horror mistake of running up the stairs. To his defense, Scream wouldn't release for another 11 years to tell him not to do that. He heads to the roof only to run into a werewolf clawing at him from the inside, causing him to slip, leading to kill number 3, watch for falling punks. He hits the ground just as the floozy runs out of the door, and his blood splatters across her face. Alternately, I called this kill the blood money shot, because blood splatters on her face. I didn't know which one was better to go with. Maybe also watch your step. That wasn't quite as clever, though. I was trying to go really punny for that one. Oh, so I got a joke here. I don't think that was the facial she was expecting today.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. We're going down that road.
Too busy screaming at the sight, she becomes kill number 4, Wereclaw. A werewolf arm reaches around her and drags her to be killed off screen. But hey, as compensation, we get a gnarly close-up of the lady with her half-transformed face and blood dripping from her mouth. Pretty cool shot.
Yep.
That they're going to reuse many times in this movie.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Jenny and Ben visit Lee to see what he knows. And you know, because she might get the scoop of the century, too. Hey, she still has to earn that paycheck somehow. Speaking of which, I mentioned earlier, be sure to contribute to our Patreon if you can. Any little bit helps.
Yes, join the $1,000 tier.
the quit my job tier, do this full-time tier.
I don't think $1,000 will do that for me.
I mean, yeah. I can manage.
Okay.
$1,000 a month, I could manage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a month.
That's right. Yeah, we'll make it 2,000 then.
Yeah, 2,000. I could definitely quit my job at 2,000. If you want to be the associate producer on this podcast at $2,000, let me know. I'll open up the tier. It turns out that Jenny worked with Ben's sister, and Ben is packing heat because he's a sheriff, and he might need it because they are being watched by the old werewolf guy from the cemetery. They head inside Lee's place, which looks like it could pass for a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum. So that's why he's passing out those business cards. He's trying to get people to come to his museum. He even has full-bodied skeletons. I bet they came from India, but do they have perfect teeth? Man, I really do have Return of the Living Dead on the brain here.
I think you need to go watch that.
Hey, I got it on 4K from Shout/Scream Factory, so.
Hey now.
Lee shows the two some silver bullets and said that they killed his sister. Wait, you said his sister was alive. Which is it, Lee? You're getting your story mixed up here.
I think this movie's getting its story mixed up.
That's okay. He says they were removed during autopsy, so she can never rest in peace. Touche, Lee, you win this round. But what kind of werewolf lore BS is this? Is that actually a thing? Well, Lee said it must be, so I guess it must be true? Lee explains the obvious to Ben. This type of bullet, Mr. White, means your sister is a werewolf. Then cue the spooky music. Double the title drop, double the fun, right? Ben laughs it off, but Lee says that there are werewolves all over living amongst humans. Getting a better look at those skeletons, I'd say one PT, one non-PT, for those who doing the indexing at the Unita Medical Supply Warehouse. Lee continues to dump the exposition, informing them that Dee Wallace was investigating a group when she was transformed. Yeah, into another actress. Because it's clearly not her in that video. Oh, you're just pointing. Okay, sorry.
I'm just hitting the symbol.
Oh, you're doing the... Okay.
Because I don't have a button.
Gotcha. All right. Lee tells them that she had herself killed and shows them the video footage of her being killed during her news broadcast. It was really convenient that the tape went missing after her death and Lee ended up with it too. Something also tells me that this isn't the footage from The Howling, but hell if I'm going to look it up to confirm it. Although I'm pretty sure some guy standing next to Kevin McCarthy shot her anyways, and he wasn't rocking a stash better than Scary Perry's like this guy on the tape is.
Whoa. You watch yourself.
Although I'm pretty sure this broadcast did gangbusters in the ratings for Kevin McCarthy's TV station. Only for him to be put out of business by Weird Al 8 years later. What a ride that guy has had. The tape has a pretty sweet score too. Did Lee add that in himself? Then Lee busts out this poster board school presentation of the lady werewolf from earlier, and we find out her name is Mariana. I bet he spent all night working on that poster board.
It's okay.
Wait in the last minute to get that ready for school.
I have to get it ready.
It does look like one of those poster board
my
presentations you make in school.
Will arrive soon at my museum. I have to get it ready.
And she's a bit of a problem because she's immune to silver and only titanium will kill her. Whoa, titanium. Lee just won up the game there.
You do that. You can't change it.
He skipped gold and went straight to the triple dog dare.
Oh,
like God. Ralphie.
Oh, no.
Or no, Ralphie's friend Schwartz, or whoever the other friend was too.
I don't know.
Ben isn't buying any of this, while Jenny is a believer, though. And Lee adds that he is going to the cemetery tonight to make sure Ben's sister can rest in peace and stop the werewolves from freeing her. Lee continues dumping exposition, explaining that Sturba is the werewolf leader. What a name there, Sturba. The next full moon will be Sturba's 10K birthday party, and all the werewolves will reveal themselves and some are already transforming. I gotta say, damn, Sybil Danning looks pretty good for 10,000 years old. And now, Lee, I gotta clarify here. And when you say all, does that include the marsupials too? We'll have to talk about that. That's definitely an awful August movie sometime.
Oh boy.
Howling 3.
Oh boy.
I think it's another fun one.
I don't want to watch anything. Okay.
After 3, you could probably stop. 3's at least cheesy and fun enough, kind of like this one.
I want to stop
Not to spoil the rating. So Lee is going to destroy Sturba before all the werewolves transform. Permanently, I guess? I'm assuming that's what he means. Like, on her birthday, they're all going to permanently transform and cause havoc. It's very confusing on what he means here. Wouldn't you be trying to kill her anyways if she's the leader of the werewolves and they cause problems? Ben storms out, and Lee gives the silver bullets to Jenny so Ben doesn't get himself killed. After that, Jenny invites Ben back for a drink. Wink, wink. And since we, the audience, and Ben weren't paying attention, she recaps that Lee is going to drive that metal stake through Karen's heart. Wait a minute. She specifically calls it a stake. Stakes? Are we sure this isn't a vampire movie? I don't know if you have any fun facts about when we get to that, but I've never found concrete evidence that it 100% was, but this movie very much sounds like it was a vampire movie script that was changed to be a Howling sequel.
Fun fact.
Are you going to drop it on us here?
It was.
It was? I've never seen anything concrete. That's the story I've always heard, though.
I'll elaborate more towards the end.
In the fun facts section?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I think I said this last time. We need a clever name for the fun facts segment that ties in with everything. You know, we got short stacks. We need to come up with something a little more clever, punny for our fun facts segment. But for now, we'll just call it fun facts.
The $1 Million Bacon. I don't know what I'm saying.
We'll just keep going. Ben really wasn't paying attention because he finally realizes that Lee was talking, quote, about sticking a stake in my dead sister, end quote. Well, that's going to make the top 10 quotes of the year.
Oh,
That's
boy.
exactly how he says it in the movie, too.
Oh, boy.
Ben leaves to go kill Lee, and Jenny chases after him, but not before grabbing those silver bullets, just in case. Then that theme song kicks in, so we're up to 3 on the theme count. We still haven't seen Sybil Danning's Rockin' Rack yet. And then we also get a shot of the Full Moon Features logo here as our heroes make their way to the cemetery. And being a werewolf movie, there's going to be a lot of full moons. So full moon logo count, we're at 1.
I'm not keeping track of these. You can.
Oh, it's in my notes.
Okay,
Don't worry.
okay.
But when Ben and Jenny arrive, the chains locking the gate have been broken. And Ben's packing a carbine. This guy can't get prepared for a fight. Rocking a carbine. This guy.
Yeah,
That's a
big gun.
That's an awesome gun there.
Yeah.
I think it might be an M1 carbine, I believe so. I know a little bit about guns, but I'm not like super, can tell you every single type of gun, but I think it's an M1 carbine. Yeah, Ben ain't screwing around. They wander around the foggy forest, but Lee is already inside and praying? Lee, this is no time to be praying, buddy. Stake that Karen and get out of there. I think it's so funny. Her name's Karen.
Oh, boy.
Speaking of which, someone is sneaking up on him, and outside something is howling, like the name of the movie. So now Ben takes the silver bullets. What made you change your mind, Ben? The howling or the load you just dropped in your pants after hearing it? Lee finally finishes praying. Oh, Jesus, now he's got to put holy water on the stake? You can't keep dicking around like this. Right, Perry?
I do like Dick. Oh.
I had to work it in here somehow.
Oh, boy.
Back outside, a werewolf pops up in front of them, and Ben unloads on it like he's the Rambo of werewolf movies. They make a run for the crypt, and Ben stops Lee from staking his sister. See, Lee, I told you that you were taking too long, buddy. But his sister is now a werewolf, and pops up to grab Lee, and Ben Rambo unloads into his sister. If you're hoping for a cool werewolf transformation, you'll be disappointed. Karen just goes from not D-Wallace to werewolf in a cut. It looks like the transformation budget was slashed for this one. But another werewolf grabs Jenny, and Ben Rambo ignores all line of fire concerns and blasts that werewolf off of her. Unloads on another with a revolver before plugging the half-transformed old werewolf dude. Errol, I think is his name. I only know that because I turned on subtitles so I could hear, His name's Earl, so he's an Irish werewolf who tries to escape, and our heroes give chase. Errol doesn't get very far and falls down just outside the crypt. Lee will put him out of his misery so his soul can rest if he tells her where Sturba is.
Sturba.
So this movie has a lot of quick cuts and flashes of shots, and the one we get here makes me want to take back what I said about Sybil aging well for being 10K, because it flashes to this old woman that's clearly in the same outfit.
Yeah, this flashing throughout the movie.
Oh, they do it a lot.
It bothered me a lot. I'm like,
it's very weird. I kind of like it though because it's all over the place.
You like it? I didn't.
It's all over the place. I love it.
What the hell's going on? Stop it.
Yeah, this movie's batshit crazy, and I love it. Not to spoil my overall take on it, but he tells them that she is in the dark country, which is Transylvania. Whoa, hold on. Are we really sure this isn't a vampire movie?
I think it is.
Lee stabs him with that sweet titanium dagger, and with his work finished, Lee excuses himself to go hunt Sturba. Like saying that name, Sturba.
Sturba. Sounds like an energy drink.
It does.
Drink your Sturba.
Thirsty? Get a Sturba. It gives you all that energy. Gets you that werewolf energy.
Werewolf energy.
But Ben insists on coming with him so he can prevent this from happening again, despite the disgusted look on Lee's face. I'm not sure if that was acted or just his actual disgust at starring in this movie. Also, Ben, based on the number of sequels, it's gonna happen again anyways. This is all an exercise in futility. Jenny wants to tag along too, to get the scoop of the century. In a few years, I'm pretty sure that all the werewolves will just reveal themselves to the public in Australia anyways. As marsupials, no less.
Oh boy.
A few quick cuts and a play of the title theme later, up to 4 on the theme count, and we are in Transylvania. They have this sweet skeleton clock tower. Do you think that guy's a cousin of J-Bones?
I think it might be.
You'll have to ask J-Bones. J-Bones, is that your cousin up on that clock tower there? The Horror Express pulls into the station, and I assume Lee is on board? Nope, instead Mariana disembarks and meets a fellow werewolf, and they sniff each other? It's a bit strange. Apologies for last week for having a train movie and not referencing another train horror movie, Horror Express. But I wasn't going to miss an opportunity to reference a Christopher Lee train movie.
Good one. What's with all these movies we're reviewing with
the trains?
In
well, if we ever do more than one episode a month, I think we should have a train month.
It used to be the phone booth thing. Now it's turned into the train thing.
I don't think we have a phone booth in this one. Maybe. No, I don't think we do.
I don't.
But yeah, I find it weird that they were sniffing each other. I mean, I know, it's applying to the wolves. Wolves are like dogs. They sniff things. They sniff other dogs. It's just still strange to me.
You don't sniff people?
Yeah, is that something you do?
Who doesn't sniff people? Nah, I'm just joking.
Wait a minute.
I'm on to the
Is
sniff.
this Scary Pods?
Not the
Hold
stuff
on,
anymore.
hold on.
I'm on the sniff.
Oh, jeez. Hold on here. Are you trying to tell me that Scary Pod's brother is a werewolf? Are you a werewolf?
No,
Harry?
I told you earlier his sister was a werewolf.
Okay. But you're the one sniffing. Are you sure you're not the werewolf, too?
Hey, just settle down.
I'm going to scoot away a little bit from Scary Perry.
Settle down and drink your stirba and let's continue, all right?
Oh, this podcast is going off the rails on the Terror Train again. Or is it the Horror Express?
All right.
Maybe that should have been the name of the podcast. The Scary Podcast, starring Scary Pod. He'll have his own spin-off podcast, The Rival Ours. We got to put a stop to that. They also have these interlocking medallions that apparently signified that you were in the werewolf club.
No.
Because apparently the sniffing wasn't enough to tell. And he tells her Sturba is anxious to meet her. To be honest, with her breasts half hanging out like they are, I'd be anxious to meet her too. Oh, I assure you ladies, I am a gentleman and a scholar in real life. Meanwhile, our trio are taking the scenic route by car to Transylvania, but they seem to be lost, and Ben blames it on Jenny's driving. Wait, is that a joke about bad women drivers in this movie? Wow, way to be highbrow and have some class movie. Lee thinks so too, as he closes his eyes in the back seat, wondering how he ended up in this mess. Maybe he needed a new car like Betsy Palmer. That would explain a lot. Back with the werewolves, they've all piled into a truck to head to Sturba, but they are getting hungry. And there just so happens to be some beefy schnitzel walking down the road. So they stop to pick up these two German tourists, leading to kills number 5 and 6, off screen to death. They make noises being eaten while, despite clearly just laying in the back of the truck. Oh, I get the effect they were going for there and it could have worked, but they linger on like the one being pulled into the thing by the other actors too long. It's very cheesy.
Yeah.
And then we get another mastery of Adobe After Effects with this diagonal line cut just coming shoom. So we're up to two After Effects wizardry here.
As they're getting for real long in the film, they're learning more stuff now.
Yes. And we cut to Sturba's castle/mansion. And this place is guarded by werewolves in armor and carrying guns. Hold on a second. Werewolves in armor and with guns. Did Resident Evil Village rip off this movie? Because that's definitely a plot thread from Resident Evil. I mean, they're not technically werewolves, but they call them werewolves. Man, a lot of Resident Evil talking in this episode.
Hey.
Even with the Arkley Mountains reference earlier. Inside, the werewolves are dressed in robes and BDSM fetish attire and are chanting some ritual. Oh, and did I mention titties?
Hey now.
And now the titty count is it jumps all the way to 5 here, because from what I can count, there's at least 4 sets, maybe even more. I'd like to point out that pun I made, which I didn't even rim shot, but it was a pretty good pun, titual and ritual. That was actually a little Bob Ross happy accident, because R and T are right next to each other. I was trying to type in ritual, and it typed in titual, and then I see the red squiggly line. I'm like, oh, wow. And I'm getting ready to delete. I'm like, wait a minute. That's actually very clever. Just like Bob Ross says, it's those happy little accidents that lead to the best things, even though I just ruined the entire joke there because I explained how it happened. It was worth explaining, though.
Yeah.
They bring out a girl dressed in white and lay her on the dais, and a guy pours a bowl of red liquid on her. As our good friend Terry from Blood Rage would say, that's not cranberry sauce. Go back and listen to our Blood Rage episode. That's a good episode.
Yes.
Then this old lady comes up, sucks the life essence out of her mouth, while oddly cutting back and forth from the crowd, and then cutting to flames and transformed werewolves howling, walls of bone and melting faces. It's really weird, all the cuts going on here. And then when she's done, the lady in white is a sweet-looking dried-up husk. And the old lady has transformed into Sybil Danning as the theme song kicks in again. So we're up to 5 on the theme count. The titty count overall is tied with the theme count right now.
Oh my God.
Wait a minute, though. Sturba sucks the life force out of this girl to sustain herself? Are we sure this isn't a vampire movie, specifically with space vampires? Keyword life force there. We'll have to talk about that one sometime.
It is a vampire movie.
Howling II, your sister is secretly in a vampire movie. The crowd keeps howling at her. And hey, if I was in a room with scantily clad 80s Sybil Danning, I'd be howling too. I feel like I actually needed a womp womp button on there because that was very cringy, but I could not resist the urge to make that joke at some point in this movie. Hey, it's Sybil Danning, man.
All right,
she's a looker.
I'm not saying she isn't.
After another amateur mastering their After Effects cut, someone was really proud of their work here. Oh, I didn't put down that as a cut count. My cut count might be off, so that's 3 cuts. Is it 3? Oh no. Disaster strikes.
He lost count. My God.
3. counting that as 3. Now I have to write 3 down so I don't forget.
3.
So now I have to add 1 to everything. Damn it.
Way to screw up.
I know. What are you going to do? Anyway, someone was really proud of their split cut work here. We're in Sturba's bedroom, where she is getting frisky with a werewolf, who then goes to get Mariana to join the fun. And right on cue, that theme starts playing again. We're up to 6 on the theme count. As she comes in, Mariana's one boob is already popping out. That's very, like, it's not even trying to hide it. You might as well have just come out with the whole top out. But the male wearer guy rips open her top. So we're up to 6 on the titties count. And this is the first ripped top count. So we're going to do separate count. Of course, the ripped top leads to kitty, so there's going to be a dual count there.
You're going to like the sub. Category.
Yes, there's going to be subcategories here. So obviously that one can never top it, but will it beat out themes?
Oh boy.
And Sturba tells him to fuck her. Whoa here, Sybil Danning can give out consent for other women? I didn't know that was a thing. That is not very PC of you, Sybil Danning. You can't just give out consent for other people that aren't you. But then, to join in on the action, Sturba rips her top. So we're up to 7 on the titties count, on to 2 on the rip top count, and 1 on the Sybil Danning rip top count, which that's going to be important later on. That is the key one to keep track of. How many times is Sybil Danning's rip top going to come up, and is it going to beat out the themes? Because spoiler alert, the boob count.
How many times did Dr. Loomis fire?
Yes, and how many times did Dr. Loomis shoot his gun? Was it 6 or 7 times? Or 5?
Refer back to our Halloween 2 episode when I clarified the math.
And then she rips it again. So rip tops 3 and Sybil rip tops 2. And then she watches them bang. Okay. This entire thing is really weird. Now, apparently, Lee is having tantric mind sex with them and is deep in thought as the gang's car comes to a stop as villagers are blocking the road, gawking at a wrecked car. Or maybe he is us wishing he would have taken the Horror Express instead to get to the town faster. Hold on. Wait, wasn't it just almost night at Sturba's place? Or have they just been driving that long that it's the next day? Or maybe they should have taken the Terror train instead. Or maybe the continuity just sucks? I'm not sure with this one.
Time doesn't exist in this movie.
No. There is definitely some blue filter night here in this movie. And I love blue filter night because it always looks bad. It's so cheesy. There's hardly any time it looks good. Unless you're having like a surreal movie, in which case I could understand it. But this movie is not surreal in a good way, like the intentional way. A lady has been hit by this car. Not the car they're driving, by the way. The lady has been hit by a different car. So they get out to help, but this crazy lady just starts mumbling some werewolf nonsense. And that's everybody's cue to exit as the villagers all leave. Because it's a trap. She starts to grow fangs, but Lee quickly puts a stop to that and stabs her with that sweet dagger. Noticing that everyone else is gone, Ben asks where the hell did everybody go? Well, based on their garb and that line, I'm guessing bingo? I can't stop making Resident Evil references here. Lee answers, they're here and they're not here. Well, hold on, Lee, which is it? You are confusing me throughout this movie with your talk. I mean, this is as confusing as that opening to Meat Hook Massacre, that narration that they just stole from a different unfinished movie and jammed into their movie, and it doesn't make any sense in the context of the film.
This movie confusing? Nah.
Not at all.
No.
So Lee leaves on his own and says he will see them at the village later. You could hitch a ride to the village, Lee. It would probably be faster. Before I continue, I'll just say Lee's character in this movie is named Stefan. Of course, I'm going to call him Christopher Lee. I wouldn't call him anything else.
Stefan Krosco.
Yeah, yes.
You call him Lee, that's fine.
I just decided he's going to be Lee, nothing else, because why would I reference him as anything else? But Lee must be a psychic because as Ben and Jenny drive off in the car, they are attacked by a werewolf from the back seat. Surprisingly, there's no Tempo magazine stinger. It would have been a perfect time for one.
They missed.
And I was hoping to keep track of those too, because I didn't count them on my first watch through, so I was going to count them on the second one. I don't think there's a single thing that would qualify as a Tempo magazine stinger in this movie. This might be our first movie without a Tempo magazine stinger. I have a questionable one later on that we'll get to. Could be the first review without a Tempo magazine stinger.
Like the ending is.
Well, but does it have the stinger? See, it could be a jump scare, but unless it has the stinger to accompany it, it's not a stinger.
No. Carry on.
Gotta have that musical cue, that high-pitched musical cue,
I got you.
Out of nowhere. Ben blasts it away, and then the editor shows us some more of that After Effects cut wizardry with a swirl cut. It's almost like a clock line going around that's like swirls around. It goes shoop.
They're getting better.
And that's the fourth cut.
They're getting better.
And then, they're there. We're back in Sturba's bedroom as she continues to watch these two bang. And titties again? I have titties question mark because these are some questionable titties, even though they're the 8th and 9th titties in this, because they've half transformed into werewolves. So they are humans covered in hair and fur that has been glued onto them.
Well, actually, we can get into this later.
Oh, yeah.
It could be 4 different types of creatures. 4.
Oh, boy.
I'll get into it later, though.
In the fun facts. All right. Sounds good. And to describe this image, it's... Oh, God, this joke. It's like searching for Harry on P-Hub. Not that I would know. It's not my kink. Or maybe searching for... This definitely isn't my kink, but I don't know if there is such a thing as live furries, because there's plenty of the cartoon artwork. Man, who knew that this movie would cause us to talk about furries? Okay. Hey, some people want to bang your sister because she's a hot werewolf.
Or a vampire.
Or a vampire, yeah. Like the Twilight people, I want to bang that guy.
I sparkle in the sun.
Yeah. I think that's for a different reason. I think that's a side effect of too much stuff consumption.
Oh. I'm on the sniff now.
Okay. Oh, jeez. We're off the rails on the terror train again.
Yeah.
So after this guy gives us his werewolf O-face, Sturba hops into bed for round 2. But before you furry fans get too excited, the editor busts out a diamond cut.
They're getting better.
To the village streets. So we're up to 5 on the cuts here. Our pair of heroes finally arrive in Transylvania 65000 and check into their hotel. Although I don't see Kramer anywhere. Michael Richardson. Right, that's the guy that plays Kramer? Okay.
Yes.
See, I got that right.
Yep.
But Concierge, better stashed than Scary Perry, is doing his best to replace Jeffrey Jones.
That guy is
Who's also
canceled.
canceled. Yeah, definitely canceled.
And so is Michael Richardson. Canceled.
Yeah, I don't think he's been in anything since his...
incident.
Yeah.
The other guy is a sex offender, so let's keep going about these 2 people. Canceled.
And you think the Transylvania 65000 reference should stop there. Think again, because there's a fair going on, too, while they arrive. Although I'm beginning to think Transylvania just has fairs all year long. The only time I ever see people in Transylvania, there's a fair going on. Oh, but yeah, it's not just any festival. It's the new Full Moon Features logo festival. So the concierge books them into room 666. Well, I guess that's better than room 217 or 237, depending on if you're doing the book or the movie.
Or 1408.
Or, yeah. Bellboy Tondo Kramer comes in, slide it all in. I don't know. Best I could do the Seinfeld music without having listened to it recently. Grabs her bags and takes them to the room. Jenny unpacks a clove of garlic? Look, there are way too many coincidences like this to make me think that this was supposed to be a werewolf movie. Couldn't they have done Wolfsbane instead? I mean, I know that's still equally used to ward off all sorts of undead creatures, but...
Maybe she's just hungry for garlic. It's like a snack for later.
So Jenny, just out of the blue, falls for Ben, and they do the hunka chunka.
Ooga chaka.
Remember, guys.
Ooga chaka.
Yeah. Remember, guys, the best first date idea is hunting werewolves. No woman can resist.
Or vampires.
Or vampires.
Question mark.
And it's weird because outside, the werewolves can smell them bang. Like they're all sniffing. It's like they could smell them bang and they're getting aroused. It's very weird.
It's weird.
This movie is very strange.
It is weird.
Then the editor uses the next cut in the After Effects list as we square cut this little square box shrinking.
They're getting
or maybe it expands. I can't remember.
They're getting better.
I don't know about that.
I'm going to say it every time.
So that's the 6 cut to after they bang and they head outside to meet up with their dwarf liaison, Nick Nack's cousin, who motions them to follow him as we wiper cut, like a wiper blade, whoosh, cut number 7, to the inside of a church.
They're getting better.
You better watch out, titty cut. Titty cut. You better watch out, titty count. Those stellar cuts are catching up to you. Lee, Nick Nack's cousin Vasil, and a group of 3 men come out. That's all the people you can muster, Lee? Really? I guess one is Constantine. So at least we have a superhero to pick up the slack. I'm not gonna lie, though, Keanu Reeves looks a bit out of shape here. And Lee sure does like his little people assistants, doesn't he? I mean, you got Nick Nack from The Man with the Golden Gun. Now you have this
Scaramanga.
Guy, yeah. Each of them has lost someone to werewolf attacks, as we briefly flash to each one. Not too long, though. We don't want people to look at the effects too long to see if they're any good or not, or how bad they could be. Especially since it looks like they were actually attacked by Bigfoot. Like the werewolves in those scenes, they look like Bigfoot. Lee didn't have time for a poster board presentation this time, so he just hands out photos of Mariana. The plan is to follow her to find Sturba. But for now, they are to lay low and just observe his Taurus while Lee chills in the church, praying to God to get out of this movie. Before they leave, Lee gives them these holy medals to wear for protection. I'm sure those aren't going to matter much later. Then that After Effects magic is on display again as we clock handle cut to the festival outside.
They're getting
We're up
better.
to 8 cuts. I don't know about that. Ben and Jenny are escorted by Tondo Craner, and they stop to watch Andre Toulon's puppet show of a wolf in sheep's clothing, which is, according to Tondo, very charming, as he has this cheesy Romanian accent. They head back to the hotel room, and Jenny's taking a bath. Ooh. But we get some ominous music as the camera peeks in on her, but it's just Reb Brown with his shirt off, ready for round 2. Then we cut back to Sturba's werewolf threesome, which is still going on apparently. So titty count 10 and 11? Yeah, they're still like half werewolf transformed here, so yeah.
4 species.
Yeah, so I mean, and we get a hint of the theme. I'm not sure we can count that as a whole play though. It just kind of does like the drum beat. There's a couple other times where it does just like the drum beat and then cuts into like a different type of style of music. So I'm going to put in theme 6 ? We might have to count that as a half a play.
Fair enough.
Also, I'm beginning to think that whoever wrote this movie had a werewolf sex fetish. Maybe it was supposed to be a vampire sex fetish.
I think so.
Was this the original first Twilight movie, but made years before? When were those are based off books, right? When like those were written?
I don't know.
Who knows when those were written? Probably way after this.
Yeah, I don't think they're old.
But just as quickly as we cut to them, we cut back to Jenny and Ben talking about the name of the town, Vlakava, which translates to the place where wolves live. Are we sure it just isn't a werewolf dessert, like their version of baklava? Or is it like a kind of a werewolf balaclava?
Baklava?
No, the balaclava. That's like the ski mask that you wear to,
okay.
Like when you're for your spec ops. Then it's right back to the weirdest threesome ever, with the titty count going up to 12. I have no idea what Sybil Danning's doing with her hands there. She's just like doing this with her fingers. And not that you guys can see this, but it's an interesting motion. Like I have no idea what she's doing
like clawing
there.
at herself?
Yeah, she's just like in the air, like going like this.
She's
like
making a bird.
It's very, very strange.
Vampire bird werewolf theme.
It's time to show off another one of those fancy After Effects cuts. So this time we zigzag swipe cut to the title card telling us it's the following afternoon.
They're getting better.
Movie, I would never have been able to figure that out. Although to be fair with this movie's concept of time, maybe we do need some continuity explanation. And hey, look who showed up at the festival. Mariana! Ben tells Tondo to watch Jenny because he wants to buy her a gift. Sure, we got time to kill before the climax. We have to get this movie to 90 minutes somehow. And hey, while we're at it, let's insert some filler at the festival to take a break from the action. Speaking of taking a break, I think that's a good time for us to take a break from the action. And we'll be right back. And we're back.
A dinosaur story.
Where we left off, Mariana and her werebow are wandering around the festival too. Is that the chime from April Fool's Day I hear? That little whistling chime? It sounds a lot like it. It's not 100%. It's not like that humming noise, which I'm pretty sure must be a generic sound effect because I'm pretty sure that's like spot on from Return of the Living Dead. So not Jeffrey Jones strolls up and gives them the news that Lee is in town. I love how they nonchalantly glance over at Lee and he stares back and nods, smoking his pipe. Also, insert another random cut to Werewolf Mariana from earlier. That cut we kept talking about. I don't know why, but they put it in there. Maybe they're just trying to pad the runtime, or they're just trying to make the movie strange.
Or trying to make people have seizures.
Yeah, that too, because there's a lot of quick cuts.
They're not getting better.
Jenny finally notices that Ben is gone, and Tondo lies to her and says that he told them to meet him at the gypsy camp. Oh no, I don't like the sound of that. Are we sure Tondo's last name isn't Weinstein? And someone really likes that weird but sweet-looking skeleton clock tower because they keep cutting to that a lot, too. Anyway, it's nighttime now, I think. Who knows with this movie. And Sturba's rocking a new outfit at her place. How long until she takes this one off, though? Anyways, enough of that. Time for another shot of the full moon logo, bringing our count to 2. Ben and Vasile are sneaking up to the outskirts of the castle, and he hands them some blessed earplugs. Vasile goes solid snake on the sentry, throwing a knife into his gut. It was all in the reflexes, right, Jack Burton? Back inside the castle, our werewolf couple informs Sturba of Lee's presence in the village as Ben and Vasile listen in. Sturba drops this bombshell on us. Lee is her brother. What kind of crazy Michael Myers, Laurie Strode BS is this? And hold on, wait a minute though. That means Lee's sister is a werewolf too? Wow, there's too many sisters that are werewolves in this movie.
Or are they vampires?
Yeah, that too. They plan to lure him to the castle and kill him. Even though she's wearing her sunglasses at night, Sturba spots Vasile eavesdropping, and the werewolves give chase. Sturba casts some spell, which makes the film reuse some previous footage, with some new footage mixed in, to show our werewolves transform. Apparently, the spell hurts the ears of non-werewolves who hear it. And wouldn't you know it, Vasile trips and falls, and his magic earplugs fall out. Vasile does the whole go on without me so Ben can tell Lee Sturba's location. Yeah, the giant conspicuous castle that must be visible for miles sure is hard to miss. So Ben runs off, blasting at werewolves as he runs away. Meanwhile, Tondo is still leading Jenny deeper into the woods, and he stops and points out the Lover's Full Moon logo, bring our count to 3, which makes him hungry. Funny, I thought that was called being thirsty. Speaking of thirsty, I'm still waiting for a Pepsi over here, Dolores.
We'll drink that.
I guess I'll have to drink that Sturba. Yeah,
Sturba.
We're not getting any Pepsi today.
We got Sturba.
Dolores must have. Maybe Dolores is a werewolf and she went to the festival.
She's
I haven't seen her around in a while.
A werepire.
She's something. Anyways, let's check in with Vasile. Yep, he's still screwed, but Jenny hears his scream. But Tondo Weinsteinovic doesn't have time, as he wants to make love to Jenny. What did I tell you? Shocker, the creepy guy was a werewolf. While she's running away, Sturba uses her weak sauce special effects magic abilities on Vasile, with these like laser lights coming from her eyes and her fingers and stuff. I'm left scratching my head here and wondering, what did they spend all the special effects budget on? I mean, the light effects, these type of effects are common in 80s movies, but these ones aren't great compared to some of the other more iconic movies that use these type of effects, like Ghostbusters or Star Wars with their lasers, you know. This leads us to kill number 7, Eye-splosion. Vasile's eyes explode, shooting blood everywhere. So I guess that's where all the special effects budget went, because that's a pretty sweet scene.
Yeah,
that's a very, very good effect.
Yeah.
To be fair, if I saw Sybil Danning, my eyes would probably pop out of my head too. Oh boy. Ben runs into town, brandishing a gun. I'm sure that's going to go over well with the people. Back with Jenny and Harvey Wolfenstein, things are getting intense as you hear the beat of the score. Does that count? Plus the one from earlier? So are we up to theme 7 question mark? I'm putting those 2 as question marks. But before he can join knockoff Jerry Jones on the sex offender list, Sturba pulls him off. Oh geez, I did make that reference. And she rips that medallion off of Jenny and tosses it aside. Man, I really was right. That medallion wasn't going to do anything later. The medallion was worthless. I bet you thought I was going to say she ripped her top off. Don't worry, there will be more of that later, wink wink. She's going to use Jenny to lure Lee to the castle. I'm pretty sure he was going to go there anyways. I mean, that's his ultimate goal, is to go there to destroy her. Not much of a great plan there. Or maybe not, because he's too busy in town enjoying the festival. Lee, there's werewolves that need a staking. Wait a minute, werewolves need a staking? As some little kid in a mask strolls by, Lee notices he's wearing one of the medallions. After accosting him, Lee chases after him and follows him into a building. Lee catches up and corners the kid, but he removes the mask to reveal that it is a reanimated Vasile, who attacks Lee with a dagger. But Ben comes to the rescue and tosses Vasile out the window, where he lands on some spikes. Man, this guy dies twice in the same movie. He can't catch a break.
Spikes.
Yeah, these spikes around this well, too, no less. Like, it's very weird. Like, why are there
spikes? Question mark? Vampires?
Although I'm not counting that as another kill, because he was already undead and a bad guy.
I understand.
Ben has found Sturba's castle, and they know from the medallion that they have Jenny, so it's time for them to assault the castle. We cut to a wall of bone. If you pay 1 black mana, you can regenerate it. Little reference for all our Magic fans there. We're in the dungeon of Sturba's castle, and Werewolf Guy puts lamb's blood on Jenny and says they're going to make her a werewolf. Well, I hope this isn't a setup for some sort of weird Howling III, Your Girlfriend is a Werewolf sequel for Red Brown. He adds that she will experience unimaginable pleasures. So are they planning on opening the Lament configuration? Meanwhile, Lee is assembling the B team and they're breaking out the weapons. First on the list is Chrism, which is the consecrated oil. I'll stick with Aqua Regia. Next. Wax earplugs, not to be confused with earwax plugs, which sounds disgusting. I don't know why you'd ever make a plug out of earwax, but then we have a titanium dagger. Yeah, you already showed us that like a half an hour ago, Lee. Show us something exciting. The chalice which held the blood of Christ. Well, it's not quite the Holy Grail. What else do you have, Lee? Holy water.
Where'd he get that?
Yeah, where'd you get that from? It belongs in a museum. Holy water. Now we're talking. That's one of the best sub-weapons in Castlevania. And lastly, Vasile's rifle. I don't think he needs it anymore anyways. Ben Rambo takes the gun. A solid choice.
You know what the gun was? Quick fact here. A PM-63 Polish submachine gun.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Cut to a werewolf orgy. Settle down, furries. Another awesome tune starts to play, but for some reason they keep cutting back to the band in LA playing the song. Your guess is as good as mine. It's not the theme song, though, but it is the same band whenever you hear an actual sung song. Also, So in this scene, I did my best to count. So we have titties 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Now that is counting, as I put, that count might not be 100% accurate. Some might be double counted because usually in the same sequence, I don't recount the same breast being shown. Like if you're in a sex scene and you cut to a different angle of the same sex scene, I don't recount that as being another shot at titties, you know?
We don't know
it's
how many extras they had that wanted to show their bosoms.
Exactly. So there might be double counted from appearing in multiple shots in this scene, and I may have also missed some. But we're going to count it at 21. And look, I had to pause and count every single pair of boobs there. Do you see the sacrifices I make for all of you flapjacks out there? There's also one guy, I have to note, that's in the back left corner, and they even cut to a close-up. And he has this lady bent over a barrel. Literally. You might say they're doing it werewolf style. Oh, the rim shot broke. It doesn't work anymore. It's had enough of my lame puns.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, the B team is trekking through the woods toward the castle. Ben remarks he hasn't felt like this since he was in the Mekong Delta. Hey, that Rambo joke wasn't that far off, I guess. Also, I'm pretty sure there's a good chance that Reb Brown was in a low-budget Vietnam War action movie / Rambo ripoff. Might not be that far off from the mark here. Although I don't know if maybe he really was in Vietnam. You never know. He might have had military experience. I don't know much of his history, to tell you the truth.
I don't know.
Neither here nor there, though.
I don't know.
Back at the orgy, one of the werewolf guards informs Sturba of Lee and Company's approach, and she stops the orgy and sends them out for battle. Whoa, Sturba. Nothing is more important than boning. Right, Tom Atkins? Listen to our Halloween 3 episode to hear all about that. And it's an ongoing gag that we say. Oh, and Titties 22, and another sweet close-up of that full moon logo. We're up to 4. 5 men against a small army of werewolves. I'm not sure I like their chances. Now, I put here that it kind of randomly cuts to Sturba. They've done this a couple of times, and maybe this is a stinger, where it randomly cuts to Sturba and has that little sound effect, that it plays, the one I'm talking about. Does that technically count as a stinger? It's been done a couple times earlier. It plays like a little sound cue, but I don't think that really counts as a Tempo Magazine stinger. Do you? Do you remember that cue when they, how they do the quick cuts? Like Christopher Lee will mention Sturba and then it cuts to a shot of Sturba and makes like a little sound effect. I don't think that counts as a stinger because it's not really trying to scare you.
Nah.
So yeah, this movie, I think it's devoid of Tempo Magazine stingers then. Before I go on, I can't help but to continue to notice all the similarities. A castle, werewolves, you got some weird puppets from that puppet show, a short dude that kind of looks like a hag when he's dressed up in that outfit. We're just one final boss away from literally being Resident Evil Village at this point. The werewolves sneak up and then strike at the B team, and they start blasting and tossing holy water at them. This scene is glorious. We have quick cuts and close-ups of all the action. Flesh is being torn. Werewolf fur burns from the holy water. Squibs shoot blood everywhere as werewolves are getting blasted. Werewolves are impaled and slashed with swords, daggers, axes, etc. Blood is going everywhere. It's great. So after the first wave is down, someone who I doubt is Reb Brown, but the closed captioning claims is Ben, and was clearly added in during ADR, yells, "I told you we'd get these fuzzballs." And it doesn't even sound like Reb Brown, so I think that was added in post. Unfortunately, during the melee, we have kill number 8, canceled by WB. Constantine is dead. Did Constantine die in the comics too? Is he undead, or is he technically undead already? I'm not familiar with his background.
I don't know, yeah.
But to be fair, WB is canceling things over in the DC Extended U and rebooting, so I don't know if there's a new Constantine movie in the works.
They had a good run.
But that's the joke there. Constantine canceled by WB because that's what they've been doing lately.
Well, I don't think it was owned by the WB. Or when they did the show with
that
him.
Could be.
They moved him into it for a little bit.
Yeah, I know they
DC Legends of Tomorrow, they put him in it. But they had good runs with Green Arrow and The Flash.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress.
Yeah. But it's a joke referencing how they're canceling, multiple things in the work, and they just slashed
I got you.
They canceled the Snyderverse.
Especially with the movies.
Yes, they're
the
rebooting,
TV shows last longer than the movies. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a Constantine TV show. I was just talking about the movies and projects being canceled. I was making a reference.
There was just one movie with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. I made the Keanu Reeves reference earlier too.
Yeah, I got you.
So there's some whistling. That whistling again accompanies another hazy shot of the full moon logo. So we're up to 5 in that count. As I mentioned, that whistling, man, it sure does sound like it's from April Fool's Day. Are we sure they didn't step onto Muffy's Island? Is that where Sturba's castle is? Is that why they couldn't find it? Does Sturba have a twin sister named Burba or Merba? Muffy, Buffy? No? Okay. I think maybe Arch has been using that DeLorean a few too many times to go back and get some Gray Sports Almanac action. He's screwing up the space-time continuum with Muffy's Island and everything. They continue on looking out for another ambush, while Sturba grimaces menacingly, maybe? And then I put the Tempo magazine stinger ? It's got that tempo thing again, but it's not quite. I don't think it counts. But, oh no, it's kill number 9, the holing. That's probably the worst pun so far. Hat guy bringing up the rear is grabbed from a concealed hole in the ground. And hey, I said hat guy, not fat guy. And look, if they would have been continuously tossing that holy water in the ground in front of them, they would have noticed the hole in the ground. I'm just saying. Well, it's too late to save him, so Lee tosses the vial of chrism into the hole, and they take off running as it explodes a few seconds later, sending a tower of flame into the air. Holy shit, fuck Aqua Regia and holy water. Geez, Lee, you didn't tell us that was the sacred flame from Castlevania 2. Now they could just stunlock Sturba to death once they face her. There's another pro video game tip for you. Who knew this was the pro video game tip? To be fair, I learned about that one from other videos.
In this podcast today, you'll learn about Castlevania
if you just use
Evil.
the Sacred Flame sub weapon, you could stunlock the Dracula final boss. It's the easiest boss ever if you have the Sacred Flame sub weapon.
Gotcha.
We cut back to the castle for 3 main werewolves to do some more chanting, only for the editor to remind you about his wizardry of After Effects with another funny cut. This one's a line sweeping from bottom left to bottom right. This goes like shoop.
They're getting better.
Cutting back to Lee, Ben, and the last jobber left. And this is our 10th After Effects master cut there. So they've used this a lot, but I'll bring this up here. They use this reverb effect when they chant here, and earlier when Sturba is doing some inner monologuing. It's another weird, odd choice, but it's some sweet 80s cheese, and I love it. And there's some more of that coming up in the final battle, too. Speaking of the jobber, fat guy priest with a better stash than Scary Perry gets jumped from behind. And I said fat guy, not hat guy. Ben blasts him away before he can kill him, though. Red Shirt lives to fight another day. Lee unleashes his inner Fred Jones because he tells the gang it's time to split up. He's going for Sturba, and they are going to rescue Jenny. Oh yeah, Jenny! Yeah, she's still in this movie. She's tied up and covered in blood after solving the lament configuration. While making their final approach, Lee asks, Father, can you? No, Lee, that's not the setup there. It's Father, may I? You screwed up the joke, Lee. Come on now. Back in the castle, Vlad, who apparently is the male werewolf, I just found out his name now, and Mariana go to retrieve Jenny. But Vlad starts to randomly transform for some reason, and for some reason, they cut in some footage of their sex scene from earlier.
Hey, real quick.
Sure.
To let you know, that chant is a Wiccan pagan witchcraft chant.
Is it?
They were saying
Latin,
Echo, Azarak.
Yeah.
Which is also known as the witch's chant and the Echo chant.
Okay, that's cool. And all it says in the subtitles when you turn on the subtitles is like chatting in Latin or ritual chanting. But wait a minute. So the male werewolf's name is Vlad? Like Vlad Dracula? All right, I'm pretty sure this was supposed to be a vampire movie at this point.
You sure?
I don't know. I get the strong feeling.
Oh.
Back outside, the gang better get a move on. The day for night is almost over. I love day for night. Oh, Lee uses some magic mind power BS to cast a spell to protect Jenny, while cutting to the full moon logo above the castle for logo count 6. And then we are inside the castle. The score here, I'll remark, sounds a little bit like the beginning of Frizzy's main theme to Zombie. The bump, 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 bump before it cuts into the down, 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 down. Yeah, it just did that like bump, bump, bump part reminds me of it. It doesn't go any further in similarity than that, but I just like, when I first heard it, I'm like, wait, is this now Zombie? Did I put in the wrong movie again?
You did.
Ben and Father Better Stash are wandering around the castle, while Sturba is... Wait, what the hell is Sturba doing with a Scorch replica? Scorch. That's a deep cut there, even for this podcast. Father Better Stash walks in and tries to tiptoe towards Sturba, but instead he becomes kill number 10, deep-throated. Sturba turns around, and the Scorch replica comes to life and attacks the father, sticking its tail down his throat. I'd like to pause and admire the ridiculous outfits Sybil Danning wears in this, and, well, other movies she has been in. They sure do know how to show off her assets, if you catch my drift. Back in the dungeon, Vlad is going apeshit. Ooh, he's gone apeshit. As he continues to transform and lose control, while Mariana takes Devo's advice and tries to whip him under control. Cue Ben to the rescue. He comes in and starts blasting, blowing the back of Vlad's head out. I didn't know they made silver/titanium bullets and hollow points, jeez. Before Mariana can counterattack, Ben skewers her with a dagger and frees Jenny and then makes their escape. Meanwhile, Lee steps into Sam Raimi Dutch angle cam as he approaches Sturba's throne room. Apparently she had time to change outfits again, because it's a different one than the previous scene. The two exchange barbs, and let's just say that Sturba thinks Lee has the hots for her, his sister. Just what this movie needed. An incest subplot.
Okay.
On an unrelated note, do you think Lee was banging Sybil Danning while filming this? Maybe that's why I decided to star in it, to get some of that Sybil Danning.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe.
So then the laser light show begins, and oh man, we might be going full blood beat for this battle, both in effects and weirdness. And we have some more inner mind telepathy reverb voices. Lee is drawn towards Sturba by her magic, but his resolve is steadfast and he plunges his dagger into her. No, not his dick, an actual dagger, people, come on now. Right, Perry?
I couldn't get enough dick. Wait, where the hell did that come from? What is that? What are you doing? Lawsuit.
See, that was an unused cut from our last episode that I had to cut out because there's a movie that you wanted to talk about last week for a hot cake, but you told me to hold off on, and that segment was in there. But I couldn't let that soundbite go to waste.
Oh, okay, I get it now.
So, unfortunately, it doesn't appear in the episode, but I had to cut it.
Fair enough.
Maybe if I release the whole unedited episode, you wouldn't want to listen to that. I cut a lot out of that last episode, people. And now we're going full life force, too. When he removes the dagger, more laser lights spill out, engulfing the two in flames. Now, if they both fly into space, I'm definitely considering this a ripoff of a certain space vampire movie. Ben and Jenny, cosplaying as Carrie, run through town and ask for directions to the airport at gunpoint from the violinist with a better stash than Scary Perry.
Hey, now.
Then cut to an airplane taking off with the full moon logo in the background. Logo count 7 as the theme plays, which is either our theme count number 8 if you count those beats playing earlier, or just number 6 as they head back to LA. And hey, cue some more insert shots of the band because why not? Gotta get this movie to runtime somehow. Then it's Halloween now, I guess, and their doorbell buzzes, so they go to greet who they think is a trick-or-treater. I'm just wondering, could this have been in the planned Halloween anthology universe? And does this count as our Halloween review too?
What is this, like 100 movies in one?
Yeah, I think so. I think the scariest thing in this movie is the He-Man action figure that is on the table behind them and then disappears when they change camera angles. Is it a continuity error? A screw-up where somebody accidentally left it on the set when shooting some of the footage? Or is it a possessed He-Man doll?
No, it's somebody coming from the future to sell it.
Yeah. A possessed He-Man action figure movie, you say? I'd buy that for $1.
Hey, now.
It can't be any worse than the live-action He-Man movie. And while I love that movie and it's kind of cheesy, it's not a very good movie, for sure.
Lee wasn't Skeletor, and that was Frank Longoria, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
somebody's in that.
I get those two guys like confused.
Somebody's in that movie.
Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, I mean, Dolph Lundgren's obviously in it.
Yeah. I could check.
There's some female in there that I know from something more famous, or is it
Meg Foster, Courtney Cox?
Courtney Cox, that's it. I thought it was a Friends reference. Courtney Cox is in it?
Yeah, she's in that. Yep. She's, I don't know who she is.
I know who she is, because there's...
Julie Winston?
Yeah, she's one of the main girls in it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Frank Langella.
Well, the main humans, because, that movie's really weird.
Yeah,
talk about a weird plot for a He-Man movie. Moving on. They open the door, and they find a kid wearing the remainder of the werewolf makeup effects as his costume. He lets out a whimper of a howl after they give him a piece of candy. Okay, the movie should have just ended right there with them just closing the door on the kid without them saying anything. Like, you know, it's like he's like, trick or treat, and then they just like look at him like deadpan and just close the door on him.
Yeah, that'd be good. But they did a better ending.
No, yes. I get to that here.
I know.
They think the kid came from the apartment across from them, which was vacant when they left. They go to check it out and ring the doorbell, and this creepy priest comes to the door with this, maybe it's a Romanian accent, I'm not sure what he's doing here. Maybe he's trying to be like Peter Lorre, I'm not sure. But when asked about his kid that knocked on their door, he answers, "But I have no child. I am not married. I'm a bachelor and live alone. Won't you come in?" Okay, I take it back. This creepy priest was worth not ending the movie a second ago. And you know he's creepy because we have some more of those April Fool's Days chime in the score going on. They tell him a little later, and he replies, "I hope so. I hope so," with this way too excited look on his face as he goes back into his apartment. And then Ben says much later as they run off. Now you may be thinking he said that because that dude was weird. But I think based on the really excited look on their faces, it's because they're going back to Bone for a while. Then the editor gives us another After Effects diagonal wipe cut, leading to cut number 11.
They're getting
to a close-up of a werewolf growling. Then another After Effects cut, like an iris closing.
Getting better.
Or shrinking, like a shrinking circle cut, which is our 12th cut, to the credits, and cue that awesome theme song, which is either our 7th play for sure, or maybe our 9th if we count those other two brief plays of the beat, and a shot of the band. Now, I keep saying this line. I know I've made a lot of comparisons to Return of the Living Dead, but we have another one here, and that's another kind of punk movie with like some punk characters in it, with credits replaying scenes that happened earlier in the movie. Before we continue, though, let's check in with the counts. Obviously, the breasts by themselves are far and away the leader, to be expected. But I thought those rip tops were going to show up more. The After Effects cuts beat them out. If we take a look here real quick, I think it was, we're at 12 for the After Effects, but we're only at 3 rip tops and only 2 ripped Sybil Danning tops. But wait, the credit scenes might allow some catch-up since we're replaying scenes from earlier. We already have another shot of the full moon logo, bringing that to 8. And there it is again, the scene of Sybil Danning ripping her top from earlier. So we're up to 4 in the tops count and 3 in the Sybil Danning top specifically. Our breast count grows to 23. And there it is again, and again, and again, and again. Oh boy, they sure did get their money's worth from Sybil Danning in this one, huh? So I love the out-of-context clipping of the shots here. They show Sybil Danning ripping her top, then they cut to a scene and it looks like the people are reacting to her ripping the top. It's great. For example, she rips her top, then it cuts to the creepy old guys that are at the hotel earlier chuckling. On one of them, it does Lee. He does the cross motion with his hands. Isn't there a technical name for that?
The sign of the cross.
The sign of the cross. Yes, he does the sign of the cross. Probably thinking, God help me for being in this movie where a woman is exposing her breasts this many times. Another dirty old man looks at the camera and licks his lips. I think it's the hotel manager from earlier, not Jeffrey Jones. Oh, and hey, look! After the 14th time she rips her top in this credits, Christopher Lee is into it and smiles at the titties. Then we have another shot of full moon logo, so we're up to 9. Then we have a close-up of an owl after 1. Get it? Hooters? And of course, we get a werewolf transformation O-face after 1. There are 2 shots of her just standing there with her breasts out. So those are just count towards the titties. And then we get one last ripping of her top, which then cuts to Vasile's eyes exploding. An appropriate action to seeing Sybil Danning rip her top off in front of you. So, for our running counts for this episode, that brings our totals to titties at 41, with maybe a few more or less, depending on how many were in the various orgy scenes. Tops ripped open revealing breasts, 20. Sybil Danning's tops ripped open to reveal her breasts, 19. After Effects cuts wizardry, 12. Full moon logo, 9. And the theme song, 7. Or 9, depending on if we count a couple of those hums. And unfortunately, no Tempo Magazine stingers, because I don't think we're going to count any of those. I think this is the first time we didn't have one, when we started keeping track of them. Better luck next time After Effects wizardry and theme songs. Maybe you'll catch up in Howling II. Speaking of the theme, at the very end of the replaying of the scenes of this, it cuts to the band again and they're finishing up the song, and it turns into like Surfing Bird at the end. Where, you know, it's like, blah, 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 you know, that middle part in Surfing Bird when he starts making the weird noises and then the music stops and then they kick back up with the uma ba ba ba, uma ba bow.
We're just trying to play it in a song 7 times.
Yeah. So is there anybody famous in this band? I know this, the composer was in it.
So, but I don't think any of these people were famous.
I mean,
so
his
Stephen
name
Parsons is the lead singer.
He sounds familiar, maybe just from scoring other stuff.
Pye is a guitarist, Simon Etchell keyboard, and Steve Young drums.
But not the Steve Young. No. Isn't there a famous musician, Steve Young? I didn't. Obviously, yeah, that'd be like really weird. It's like, how the hell did Steve Young end up in this weird band?
So the name of the band in the movie is Babel, and the song is just called The Howling.
Yes, it is. Yes, yeah. Oh, speaking of movie timelines, horror trivia, that was one of the questions. He likes to do some music trivia, and that was one of the questions was, it was weird because it was like theme songs that are named after a movie but weren't in the original movie. And that was one of them because The Howling is in Howling II. Another one was by 45 Grave, I believe is the name of the band. They did a song named Night of the Demons for the remake Night of the Demons, but not for the original Night of the Demons. And 45 Grave, you know what song they did?
It's party time.
That's right. So yeah, they're still making music in the 2000s. And then we keep rolling into the credits, and that's The Howling II. Your sister was a werewolf. Before we dive into the last bite, Perry, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
All right, hit me with the fun facts here.
Okay, so originally they wanted to call the film Howling II, Sturba, Werewolf Bitch.
Yes, I know this movie has a few alternate titles too, depending on what region you're in.
They nixed that, so Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf. The budget of this movie was $2 million. I don't know how much it made. I couldn't find that. It was based on a novel by Gary Brander. So he wrote some of the screenplay, right? And then they just decided to nix it and go with Robert Sarno's screenplay, which was actually based on vampires.
Oh, the book Vampires?
No.
Oh, just based on vampires
instead of werewolves.
Because there's the book Vampire $. That's literally the name of the book that was later turned into John Carpenter's Vampires.
The director said the film was inspired by new wave eroticism.
Yeah, when I say punk, it's also very new wave too. The band's more new wave, but new wave people and punks kind of dress alike. I know somebody will probably give me flack that they're different, but it's kind of like talking about goth, emo, and vampire kids. They're all the same, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, RC, if you're listening.
A lot of this film was filmed in the Czech Republic.
Yes, I did know that.
Czechoslovakia.
You mean it wasn't in Transylvania?
No.
You mean the movie lied?
But this is something I didn't know. So Christopher Lee, in World War II, he was in the British Secret Service as the intelligence agency.
I knew he had some war service. Among other things, I collect World War II stuff, and I have World War II magazines, and they always have like an ending cover blurb article that's just a small article. It used to be of pinups, but they reused so many different pinup people that, they ran out, so they started doing celebrities, and it has Christopher Lee in his uniform. So I am familiar with that he served in the war, yes.
Yeah, so he's a war hero there.
Mm-hmm.
So they greeted him kindly when he came there. During scenes where they weren't filming, Christopher looked annoyed offset because it was later revealed that the acting was so bad by Reb Brown and Andy McEnroe. He wanted to off himself. Not really, but
yeah. I don't mind Reb Brown in this, but I will agree with the Jenny McEnroe. Her character's name is Jenny. I know that. Jenny Templeton, but I know her last name's McEnroe. What did you say her first name was?
Sorry, I lost
Annie
McEnroe.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I felt her performance was a little bit. Well, we'll get into it in the last bite, but I like Reb Brown because he was just over the top, hamming it up.
Christopher Lee only accepted this role because he had never appeared in a werewolf movie. Later on, when Christopher Lee was cast in Gremlins 2, he apologized to Joe Dante for being in this movie because Joe Dante didn't want to have anything to do with after he directed the first one. So here's the thing with the species thing. The werewolf suits were actually modified ape suits.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They received the crate.
Like I said, they looked like Bigfoot at times.
They received a crate that said 20th Century Fox, Planet of the Apes, and the director didn't know what to do. So Christopher Lee went up to him and he said some kind of inspirational thing, so they would change it, I guess. Some of the shots of the movie were shot in Prague, which at the time was Soviet controlled. It was weird. They had to do some stuff. Everything was real neat and stuff. So they had to import trash from America to put on the streets. They had a casting call for people to play punks. So about 1,000 people showed up, but the Soviets let them do it. But they said that the people had to leave in groups of no more than 3 after shooting. They asked the local authority, the director, where should they shoot the werewolf's lair. They said the Catholic Church, a crypt particularly in the Catholic Church. So the priest allowed it, so the Vatican had to come to the church for sanctification. A bishop had to be sent because they had been asking the Soviets for years and they were denied. The reason Sturba, or Sybil Danning, wore sunglasses is because she had conjunctivitis and she went up to the director and asked, what should I do? And he just handed her a pair of shades. He's like, wear these. And it actually has become iconic. And other later movies,
it kind of fits the punk vibe too,
Yeah, later movies, they got that from it, like Lost Boys.
And Corey Hart probably. I don't know when he wrote that song.
Yeah. Sybil Danning, she agreed to go topless for one shot because she was tired of going topless in movies. And she was mad to find out that shot was used 17 times. So as far as reviews, it's a 3.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 31% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, 15% audience score. And those are my facts that I got.
All right. So is it so bad it's good? We'll find out as we take our last bite. Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf, is a bizarre, ludicrous, and wacky film, and I love every minute of it. While the werewolf makeup is a bit hokey and nowhere in the same league as the original, I can't help but love the cheesiness of the outfits. Plus, they're made up for by some sweet gore effects. You got flesh being ripped, slashed, stabbed, and torn, the amazing eye exploding scene, some sweet squibs blowing out backs of heads, and blood galore. There's some weird and questionable editing choices, with odd cuts and the use of every wipe in the book, but that just adds to the quirkiness and charm of it. The soundtrack is filled with fun 80s music, and that sweet theme song is definitely a banger. The acting is mostly solid, with some memorable characters, especially the ancillary characters, some of the werewolves, the creepy Tondo, he's kind of funny. He reminds me of a creepy Borat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although there are some weak performances like Jenny's. But I love Christopher Lee in everything, even if he thinks this movie is rubbish. And hey, Sybil Danning is always easy on the eyes. And I can't help but love Reb Brown's over-the-top, hammy acting style. Even if it's probably not very good, I still love it because it's got some charm to it. And then speaking of Sybil Danning, this movie is packed full of awesome and ridiculous TNA, including some off-the-wall werewolf orgies. What's not to love about this movie? Sure, this isn't high art, but it is the exact kind of fun, silly, balls-to-the-walls crazy experience that I can't get enough of. This one is nowhere near as bad as some think. As long as you go into it expecting a wild, nonsensical, but fun and crazy ride, you'll have a blast with it like me. If people say this movie is bad, it's definitely because it's so bad, it's good. So my overall rating for it is 4 pancakes. Now I'll send it over to Scary Perry for him to take his last bite.
Some negatives I have it. I mean, they're really minor. I agree with you in a lot of aspects. I'll get there in a second. I didn't think the music really fit with this movie at all.
No, that's part of the charm, though. Yeah. It's like, I love cheesy 80s music.
And I hated the cuts from back and forth cuts. And there's so many what the fuck moments in this movie where I'm just like, what the fuck when I'm watching it.
That's why I love it.
So I'm a big fan of really, really ludicrous, crazy movies that people say are bad that are good. Like a prime example is I don't know which one. I think it came out a few years ago. One of the Predator movies that came out a few years ago.
The Predator?
The Predator, I think, yeah. It's just bonkers, but it's good bonkers. This movie is bonkers, but it's good bonkers. Like, so bad, it's good. Plus, it has Christopher Lee in it, so that's an added bonus. I mean, just in short, I agree with basically everything you said. I'm going to get a 3.5 cannolis. You got to go in knowing this movie is batshit crazy, but it's batshit crazy in a good way.
Right.
If somebody asks me, should I watch this movie? Yes. Do you need to watch the first one? I don't know. I didn't watch the first one, and I don't think you do.
I need to rewatch it because it was another one of those I watched it for the first time all the way through when I was tired, but it's pretty good.
So yeah, 3.5. I liked it.
Yeah, it's definitely developed a cult classic reputation for sure. And it's a lot of fun, so I recommend it. Scary Perry recommends it, apparently, so kind of on the same page there, not far off on our rankings, so definitely a movie worthy of watching in off August, or this Halloween,
Yeah.
This Halloween season, so.
For sure.
Still kind of a little bit bummed that we didn't get to talk about Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
Yeah.
That's all right. Always another time.
The newest Exorcist movie released a little bit ago is awful.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing too, which is unfortunate. But then again, I'm not surprised when you got David Gordon Green and, my take on the latest Halloween trilogy.
Oh, boy.
Before we go, do you have anything else to add about Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf?
No, I do not.
Now, there's a movie called Your Mother is a Werewolf. Do you think that's like a pseudo-sequel to this film?
I don't know. There might be like little...
It's kind of a fun movie. It's got John Saxon in it. We'll have to talk about it sometime.
If it came later, subtle hint.
I wanted to make more references to it, but I just didn't find a spot to fit it in. That's our review of Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf. What did you think of Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf? Be sure to let us know on social media. You can follow us on I'm the Mad Pancaker or at the Mad Pancaker on pretty much everything. X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, wherever you could find me. I'm probably there. Perry is at Perry Scary on Facebook.
Yes.
Like I said earlier on, be sure to leave us a voicemail. I'm going to keep that contest open. I'm not sure if Patreon supporter AJ, famously my brother, wants any of those. And it is open to friends and family just because I think the only people that listen right now are friends and family. I don't think he wants any, so I think they're all still up for grabs unless he does want one, in which I'll toss him one if he wants it. That's who I usually give some of these codes to anyways, for he's not super into horror, but
yeah,
for some of these non-horror ones, I'll be like, hey, you want the code to this movie? And, I'll give it to him. I figured it'd be something nice since I got all these codes lying around. I never do anything with them.
Come on, some of my friends that listen, leave a voicemail.
Yeah, so
tell them where to go.
So I'm getting to that. To leave a voicemail, all you have to do, you can do it two ways. You could do it at our Spotify for Podcasters page. So just should be Spotify for Podcasters / the Mad Pancaker or whatever it is. Now, my brother did it that way, and he said he had to sign up for Spotify for Podcasters, which was kind of weird, in order to leave a voicemail there. I'm not exactly sure how it works. Otherwise, you can go to themadpancaker.com, and there should be a little microphone somewhere. I think it's in like the bottom right corner of the screen that moves when you scroll the screen too. You just click on that, and you can start recording, and you hit start recording, and it'll leave a voicemail that way, and I will get it for the show that way.
That sounds easier, yeah.
Yes, so you don't have to make any account there. But I just found that out about the Spotify for Podcaster thing. So either way you want to do it, as I said, be sure to support us on Patreon. We're starting to slowly add new content. I think we got to get a couple exclusives to add to there sooner or later, but we'll get to that. Right now, our exclusives, though, all tiers get exclusive access to any polls we do. Right now, we have open to public polls where you can vote either on Facebook or Twitter, or you can vote at Patreon, but Patreon votes count for double there. So, and sooner or later we will have, once we get a bit more of a following, we'll just have some Patreon exclusive polls, and only those people can vote on those episodes, help determine what we review next. And then, of course, at the $5 tier, you could pick a spoiler intro. So you have a funny spoiler or a big spoiler, a famous spoiler for a movie, you can pitch it to us and we'll put it in the episode and credit you as writing that spoiler for us. So, and it's not just me trying to con off my work on you. I got like 30 of them lined up, so no. I have plenty for days, but that would definitely, if you have a specific movie and it lines up with one of my spoilers, it would definitely move it to the front of the list to get done sooner. And then, of course, like our last episode, which was a Patreon review from patron J Bones, he picked our Train to Busan review. We have an upcoming review at the $10 tier from Michael Perry. So we're going to be reviewing his movie within a few episodes, hopefully, and look forward to doing that. So if you want to pick a movie for us to review, $10 tier. That's all. I think that's all the plugs I got. Next time will be our Halloween episode that probably doesn't come out on Halloween. So join us next time as we continue down the Thorn trilogy for the revenge of Michael Myers. Until next time, check please.
Dolores!
The International House of Horror.